Boop. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Berezaya Argia Chronicles. Brian, do you want to take us away?
Yes. Welcome back, everybody. For those that are joining us, and for those that are new, we're playing 5th edition D&D set in the world of Eberron, but about 20 years in the future, where the current dates in the book sort of reside. As far as a kind of a brief summary of sort of last session, last couple of sessions, actually, our crew, the intrepid crew of Berezaya Argia, had touch base in Sharn to pursue a couple of different sort of downtime opportunities, for lack of a better term, to kind of enhance their connections within the city and in the various organizations that they are part of, as well as trying to learn more information about the draconic pain in their backside that apparently was the cause of their drop something, sorry, the cause of their well, in a roundabout way, sort of the cause of the adventurers being thrown into half of this crap anyway. And so the dragon Dracoskull, who apparently initiated the original airship crash of the Radiant Dawn. In that time, a couple of things happened as far as researching that, as well as Ember, who is not with us today. She had some grad parties she had to go to celebrate the next generation of nerds as they go into adulthood. But she had pursued some kind of missions and whatnot with House Tarkanan. Rhiannon had been doing some side missions and legwork for House Madani. But in addition to that, Rhiannon, primarily along with our two Kalashtar, Narashti and Namaya, visited the kind of the Kalashtar ward in Sharn in the ward of Overlook, and introduced themselves and began a communication and a friendship with the Kalashtar, and exposed Rhiannon to the kind of the Kalashtar culture, as well as the introducing her to the kind of the priest of the Shrine of Ilyana in Overlook, and started to learn some of their teachings and philosophy. At one point, there was a wonderful and chaotic birthday party for Gavin, where where there was some dancers invited and some people got laid, yay. And so as a slight kind of retcon to what I had mentioned before, so the there was a point where Maya was kind of building up, inviting Zaya to come to the Kalashtar Enclave of Overlook to kind of introduce her, quite frankly, to her people. And as that was kind of going on, all of a sudden the enclave in Overlook was attacked by several Warforged Titans, as well as a group of inspired soldiers or whatnot, who basically were asking for, specifically for Narashti and Ember, to basically hand them over. Y'all proceeded to beat the crap out of them.
Not sorry they fireballed Zaya.
Yeah, no regrets.
Well, yeah, that's fair. That's fair. But you do. You guys were able to defeat the various archers and Warforged Titans and a Kalashtar mage for that matter, or not Kalashtar, an inspired mage. Actually trounced him pretty solidly, as I recall. And so at the very end of that, as you know, the Kalashtar kind of drew in ranks and checked in with everybody, so to speak, and checked in with you all. Some of the elders of the community, Hanamelk and Havakad and Selkatari, had asked more information on who this child or prodigal was and why the Kalashtar, or God dang it, I keep tripping up on that, why the inspired had basically come out so brazenly to hunt down Narashti and Ember specifically. And you'll have to remind me, did you guys reveal to them then who Zaya was? I know Havakad, the priest of Ileana, kind of sussed it out.
I think we strongly alluded to it without really saying it straight out.
Well, we told the one person.
Did we?
We told Havakad.
Yeah.
But it was just that one person.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we didn't explain that Zaya is the ship.
Right. Just that Zaya was
Just that Zaya, Dryad Zaya
Dryad.
is, yeah.
Which, you know, for what it's worth, they took it with not a whole lot of, you know, most people will be like, yeah, right, whatever, but they're like, okay. I mean, you know. But, and that's kind of where we were at. So you spent the night there to kind of help, one, rest up, but also they quite frankly kind of appreciated having you there at least overnight to sort of as some extra firepower, since you definitely know, had you guys not necessarily been there, the fight with the Warforged Titans would have been a way higher casualty rate among the Kalashtar. You know, and that being said, they do oh no, the mage did get away. Yeah, no, but they do, the hunters, the shadow hunters, do state that the wizard unfortunately did get away. Because they had both invisibility and some dimensional teleporty thingies to help them get the hell out of Dodge. So unfortunately, they were not able to kind of get any further on that. Selkatari did mention to Amaya that they were going to have a couple of their people just kind of keep an eye on the ship, at least, you know, kind of help out. And that's kind of where we left it off. So being the slight retcon that I did, so the attack took place like roughly the second day of Therendor. So you've got about roughly about 9 days left as far as the different sort of downtime events that are going to happen and take place. So if there's anything, I don't know if there's, other than kind of continuing what you guys were already kind of working on, is there anything else specifically you may want to try to pursue with some of that?
I think we talked in the last game about upgrading my weapons.
Okay. Well, you are in Sharn, which is, you know, the
Place to get new stuff.
ways to get new stuff. The biggest city, literally in the world of. Well,
in the modern world.
In Corvair.
Yeah.
Biggest city in Corvair, and probably also Corvair and Zendrick combined. Maybe not in Sarlona. Anyway.
Mm-hmm.
As a quick side note, GM,
Yes.
my item that I had commissioned, my Wand of Sending, I picked it up because I paid
Yes.
for it.
It is purchased and paid for. Yes.
I don't have any. It doesn't exist that I can find, so I don't know how you want me to do that.
Brian, if you want to give me basic stats for it, I can throw it together in a homebrew and throw it on our sheet.
I'd just say
Their
it
sheet.
would be
Their sheet. Thank you.
probably like 3 charges, 1 charge to do ascending. It regains a die 3 at dawn.
Easy enough. I can have that done while we're playing.
I don't really see it needing to be attuned because it's not like it's super powerful.
Right.
I mean, communication-wise, it's freaking awesome, but like, in the end of the day, it's not going to be fireballing people.
Cool. Easy enough.
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
I will say that on his travels kind of to and from the ship, I don't care kind of how out of the way it is, Gavin is going to make a point to every day, like when he leaves the ship to go to the university for his research and then comes back, both directions he will make a dip through the Kalashtar district.
Sure.
Just kind of as a patrol situation.
Not a bad idea. And they do appreciate it. Yeah, okay.
I will also report in with the Dark Lanterns, the things.
Okay. Admittedly, they appreciate the update. What information do you give them?
That there was an inspired attack on the Kalashtar community, which, to my knowledge, to Gavin's knowledge, has never happened before.
Correct.
That they had utilized Warforged as their vessels, which, again, to Gavin's knowledge, has not happened before. Although, again, this is limited knowledge.
Right.
He is not going to disclose whom they were specifically after.
Okay.
And, of course, he's not going to talk about Zaya.
Okay.
So, yeah, and it was literally, he was just reporting in and letting them know, hey, this is what happened, just in case you're curious. Like an incident report situation.
Gotcha.
Let's get Narashti some weapons.
All right. So
Yes, please.
y'all go and whoever's going with Narashti, if you're going in a relatively decent sized group, no one's going to mess with you, especially when it's during the day. And Narashti, it's Sharn. There's plenty of different shops selling all sorts of accoutrement in the armaments and stabby, pokey, smashy things.
Excellent.
What, may I ask, what are you sort of...
We had talked a little bit about my scimitar, but you said, because that's my special cool Kalashtar thing, so you were going to give me, I think, some more info on that. But what I'm looking also to buy is my longbow right now is very basic, so I just need a magic.
Okay.
I need a bow.
How would you say, how much let's put it this way, how much are you interested in trying to spend on a new bow?
How much money do I have? I gotta find it. Where's our money down here? I mean, I think she put a significant amount of money here, but I don't remember how much money I have. Oh, is it under equipment? I mean, I guess I have 8,000 gold that I've kept track of. So,
Which is not an insignificant amount.
No, it's
so
a
less,
good.
a little less than that, I guess.
You could get a badass bow for that.
That's what.
Okay, well let me take a look here.
She's not used to having this kind of money, so she's like, "This is something I need."
It's quality investment.
Amaya got a fancy sword. I want something fancy. That's her thoughts.
Well, okay, well, so if you're looking for kind of a sort of a basic enchantment, meaning just like a plus bonus, you definitely have enough money that you could easily get like a +2 weapon
Okay.
for about 4 to 5 grand. However,
Yes.
if you're looking for something a bit more specific, or something a little bit more unique, then there are some options.
I think she'd want to look and see what she could find. So I'd want to see what my options were for the something unique.
Well, so funny enough, the merchant that you are kind of speaking to on this mentions that they do actually have a unique item that some adventurers were able to I guess one could say liberate from actually from a vault in Argonessa.
I'm sure through very legal means.
Well, and you see you see the shopkeepers like, well, I acquired it through legal means. They actually got arrested because they didn't have the proper permits in order to actually go and do the thing. And so
the permits to
Their adventurer's license had expired.
yeah. Forgot to renew.
and you say that a little bit jokingly, but that is actually a thing. If you don't have certain permits, then you are technically considered grave robbers or whatnot, and bandits, and you can then be
I immediately get concerned on whether or not we have the correct permits.
Oh, you don't. You know you don't.
No.
Is that something we need to consider?
But then again, you haven't actually gone on any expeditions.
I was gonna say we haven't gone anywhere and looted anything that didn't try to kill us first.
It's true.
Well, yeah. They have. They actually do have a bow. A very unique bow. It's looks like the actual bow itself is made out of a very polished, kind of bleached, almost bone-esque quality kind of wood.
A hair.
But what kind of seems to stick out is that where the grip is, basically, where where you'd notch the arrow or whatnot, there is appears to be looks like a dragon's skull where with the hand, like the bottom jaw is kind of below the handle, the top of the skull is above the handle, and it's about like the skull. It's only maybe about sticks out maybe about a foot and a half or so, but it's surprisingly well balanced, even though you would think it would have such a weighty kind of end to it. But like when you pull it back, so like when you draw the bow back and when you put tension on the bow, it actually almost looks like the jaw's slightly kind of open a little bit, like not super huge, but this bow, as you can see, has been created, and the skull, I should say, is an actual dragon skull. It's not made out of wood.
Okay.
Unlike the rest of the bow, or at least you think the rest of the bow. Truthfully, you kind of double check, be like, is that wood, or maybe that is
more bone?
Dragon bone. You don't. I mean, it doesn't. It's hard to tell. But this was, at any rate, I was able to pick this up in auction, as many of the proceeds of ne'er-do-wells get sold off to vendors to ultimately help the community and those collectors. This particular bow has, it is enchanted. There is, in fact, and it does have, I believe, some additional enchantments versus those of the more draconic nature.
I feel that might be useful to me. Counting off all the times that she's been killing anything that's draconic. Yes. I feel this might be useful.
It is, and it is admittedly a very rare find. Usually, House Cannith, if they were to make something similar, usually adopts these sorts of enchantments for swords when they decide to actually make something like this, which is admittedly not very often at all.
Very unique piece.
I would be, now, due to its unique nature and its origin, I would be willing to part with this for, let's say, 10,000 gold.
How about 8,000? She gleams with very hopeful, innocent eyes.
I mean, it is used condition, so that generally would knock some off the price.
Yeah,
Also-
so are antiques, but that doesn't knock their price down.
Well, but also, given its unique nature and design, what really is the demand for this? I would contend that an item like this, you'd be happy to have us take it off your hands.
Narashti, I will allow you to make a persuasion roll.
Can I get
With
advantage?
advantage?
I will allow you to roll with advantage.
That's great, because how do I +0? I'm not a very charismatic person. Well, that's good, because my first one was an 8. 10! It's not going well, guys.
While I appreciate your arguments, I must admit I'm going to have to be quite firm with my offer.
Gavin
But
hands,
you
Gavin
all
hands
look
Narashti
like you
2,000
are-
gold.
Oh, damn, okay.
I don't know if I can accept that. This is a lot. That's a lot of money.
Narashti, say thank you and just do it.
Thank you. I will offer up all of my gold here.
Okay.
If it makes you feel better, you could consider it a loan and pay him back later.
Well, I don't know. You know, we keep running into money, so.
Well, Gavin, after we're clear of this, Gavin will be like, so here's the deal. I cannot express to you how many times you have shot things that were trying to kill me. So this is a solid investment in my future.
This is true.
It is investing in us not dying.
which is an important thing.
I would say not dying is a very good investment,
Yes.
but I will work to repay you. Nevertheless.
He just shrugs.
So it is a longbow. It uses the same stats as effectively a dragon slayer weapon. So it's a +1 to hit and to damage. And when attacking something that has dragon in its title or anything like that, it takes an extra 3d6 damage from the weapon.
Ooh, that's nifty.
Nice.
So this includes dragons, dragon turtles, wyverns, half dragons.
Beautiful.
Not so much kobolds, but really if you need an extra 3d6 damage to kill a kobold, you're probably doing something wrong anyway.
Did somebody write that down? Because I was trying to find it.
I'll add it to your sheet. You're good.
Thank you.
Does it work on dragon?
And it does.
Ooh, Dragonborn.
And very interestingly enough, does not require attunement.
Oh,
Oh,
I love that.
that's huge.
Yeah,
My sword's cool, but it requires attunement.
it's all good. I'm
Takes some slide.
quite happy.
Yeah, but your sword is a tad more powerful
Yeah,
in general.
And costs.
You have a lightsaber.
you have a lightsaber.
I mean, I can't argue with that. That's exactly what it is. Yeah.
Right, it's a sun lightsaber, which I think makes it cooler.
Now Narashi's got the dragon bane bone bow.
Dragon Bane Bone Bow. Yes, that's exactly what it is. Beautiful.
We're gonna call that D3B from here on out.
D3B!
Or Deb for short.
Yes.
There's layers on that one that I'm not gonna say aloud because doxing, but damn.
Now, Narashi, as you're sitting there and just kind of, testing the flexibility and whatnot, and just kind of trying it out,
She makes
You hear-
the slow talk.
you hear this
Wow.
sort of whisper in your head that basically goes, "Damn, that bow's sexy," and you've never necessarily heard the voice before.
Can I respond? Not that I disagree, but who is speaking?
And not really a response. No response.
No insight on. Does it feel as if similar if we were talking with Mind Link? Like it's that kind of.
Yeah, no, it was. It almost felt exactly like a mind link or something sort of more telepathic in nature in general.
It is.
Brian, can I ask a completely off-tangent question real quick?
Sure.
What availability / rarity would you give the Wand of Sending?
Oh, the Wand of Sending?
Yeah.
Probably uncommon.
Okay. That's all I needed. Thank you.
I mean, it's, yeah, I'd say uncommon to be.
Turns out that.
And then, and you say that, and who am I talking? Or you? I'm assuming, are you mentally kind of saying that as a class chart, Narashi, or did you say that out loud?
The who is speaking?
Yeah.
No, that would have been through Mind Link, like responding.
Oh. Yeah. Sorry, I don't want to distract you. You got a lot on your plate. Sorry. I'll.
I'm naturally distracted. This is more distracting if I don't know who you are. I mean, I appreciate the compliment.
You know who I am. I mean, I've been with you this entire time.
Okay, now I think I know who it is, or what it is. I look at my sword because I've had it a long time.
Okay.
Does it look regular? Is it doing anything?
I mean, to be fair, your sword has a blade made out of deep crystal. It looks anything but ordinary.
True. True.
I mean, but
Narashi will consider this, but when she's back on the ship, she's going to like put both weapons on the bed and start talking to them.
okay. All right.
Just like,
Were you guys going to get, at least for the moment, any other items or gear for Narashti or for anyone else for that matter? Or, I mean, I know we've done several purchases here and there already, but
Gavin's good.
okay. So, Narashti, when you get back to your room, you lay the bow and your scimitar on the bed,
yes.
and what do you say?
Friends, are you talking in my head?
Well, I don't have a mouth, so yeah, I kind of have to talk in your head.
It's my scimitar. Mm-hmm. I did. It's a very nice bow, right? And
Oh.
it's not that I don't love and appreciate you, and now we have this new relationship where we can talk to one another. But there's been times where the bad things are far away, and I don't want to throw you. I like you quite a lot.
No, hey, no, I just,
I don't want you to feel hurt. We're a team, the three of us.
heck yeah. So what are you gonna name it?
I was thinking, Deb.
Deb?
Deb. It just came to me. I don't know. Like, just came. I don't know.
Oh my god.
Do you have ideas?
Well, I've got ideas, which is really interesting because I'll be honest, this whole talking to you thing, and like being sort of, well, like conscious of things, yeah, it's a pretty new deal.
Oh, I thought maybe you were just been shy and this was the first time that you wanted to talk, but this is an interesting new development.
Well, little column A, little column B, you know.
Do you have a name? Do you have a name?
Scimitar? You haven't really given me a name. I mean the shadow hunters, they kind of, when they build that kind of bond with their weapon or whatever, sometimes they'll name them.
I'm sorry. I feel like I failed you. Do you have a preference?
I only became conscious maybe a couple hours ago, so I'm still kind of new to the whole choices thing, or so I might need your help on that.
Okay, let's sleep on it. I'm sleeping on it. I mean, I'm not going to sleep on you. You're a little pointy. I'm going to set you in your nice little spot next to my pretty box of treasures. But, you need me.
Yeah, that's fair.
I have a sword that I can talk to. This is interesting.
Well,
Yeah.
and this is really kind of weird and new and strange to me, but we'll get through it.
I think we will. Well, it's you, me, and Deb, and other things. But us three, we're a team now. And I'll come up with a name. I will. I just gotta pick a real good one.
All right.
I'm fucking searching your Dragon Bang bow in D&D Beyond, and I typed in Deb.
I love it. I love it.
You have to spell it with a 3, though.
Yeah.
No, I super did! That was the thing!
I'm so here for this.
Okay, refocusing, continue.
And as you're kind of sitting there and talking with the sword a little bit, which we for now we'll just refer to as I guess scimitar until you
Yeah.
decide to figure out a name. But you do. There is actually a knock at your door,
I will answer. Come in.
and you see Nikali's like, "Hey, so the lady person that you had danced with
Oh.
is on deck. Apparently they stopped by, so anyway, just giving you a heads
She's
up.
like her sword, her weapons aside. Okay. Oh, okay. I will be right back. She says to the swords or her weapons out loud. And then.
And you see Nikali just kind of, okay, and then kind of turns and looking a little confused, but you see ultimately heads down into the kind of the cargo hold because you see starting to have a conversation with Liddy.
Mm-hmm. Narashi will go up on deck and meet her friend.
And you see Kaladin is sitting there attempting horribly, like even you can recognize, horribly attempting to hit on this dancer lady.
I lied. She'll start out the door and then I'll go grab, but I'll re-grab my weapons because I shouldn't leave them that could be really bad. So I just want to retcon for a moment. I take them with me, so
right.
No one comes and kills me. Once I see, I'm gonna rescue my dancer friend and say, "Do you want to get out of here for a little bit?"
Sure.
I will go walking along. I'll go meander with her.
Okay.
Unless she has anything important to impart.
Truthfully, you get the sense that she just kind of wants to spend time with you. Definitely taking a liking to you.
I mean, Narashti doesn't have any complaint. We'll go wander.
Okay.
Not super, not too far, but maybe in just kind of that same district area that we're
sure.
in.
Absolutely. So Gavin, you so then kind of jumping over as you go on a date with the dancer lady, which of course I should probably then make up a name for her, but I totally have not. So that is the thing I'll need to do eventually.
I'll name the sword. You name the girl.
That's fair. That's fair.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
And I believe, did we say she was a half elf or a human?
I think you said human.
Human?
I know one of them was half elf, but I think the one that Narashti was canoodling with was human.
That was my remembering as well.
All right. We'll say we'll call it like her stage name is like her actual first name will still be Anya, but her sort of her dancer stage name is like Anya Adair, A''Daire.
Was this my dancer? I'm sorry, I got momentarily distracted.
Yes. So this is your. We'll put it.
Dancer.
We'll put it as Narashti's dancer friend.
Yay.
And you do see she's. I mean, when you guys are in the city, she's not necessarily wearing armor or anything, but she does have a dagger on her belt, just because she's not a big warrior type or a rogue type doesn't necessarily mean she's unarmed, because it is still sharp. But yes, you guys go and have a little date night. Gavin, you guys, or you and I imagine to some extent Nikali, kind of go to sort of continue your studies, as it were.
Yes.
And you do get some information, a couple of tidbits of information.
Okay.
So I'll just kind of go over the bullet points then, since this has been kind of accumulating over your month of research and other things.
Sure.
So Dracoskull who is a blue dragon, is mated to a black dragon by the name of Rashak, Rhashaak.
I'm guessing on that one. All right. Yep.
And they are they live in Kabara, specifically in a bit of a citadel. Well, and while you don't necessarily know Dracoskull's specific lair, so to speak, or whatnot, but you do know more that Rashak, who has been in Kabara for like longer than the people who came in to settle Kabara, and way longer even than Dracoskull, has been sort of the primary. This Rashak has been kind of the primary sort of, I don't know if you'd call it gatekeeper or sentry for a location known listed as Haka Torvak, Haka apostrophe Torvhak, which is a kind of a fortress built into the like caldera of a extinct sort of volcano.
Okay.
The name actually means throne of the holy dragons.
That will probably elicit an eye roll from Gavin.
And this Rashak has been sort of the guardian of this area and region for some time.
Sure.
It is also known that this area is prone to having rifts sometimes happen where demons will spawn out. However, the Black Dragon and the Black Dragon servants, which is the various lizard folk tribes and whatnot, and some dragonborn tribes, they fight off these smaller sort of mini demon incursions when they do tend to happen.
Okay.
It is definitely in one of the more remote locations of Kabara. Actually, I'm just going to take a quick look at the map here to see if it's even. So, like, it's sort of up here.
Okay.
Whereas, like, New Throne is here.
Sure.
So it's on this map. It's a good solid 100, like 150 miles away.
Okay.
From New Throne, as just an example. Admittedly, if the two are mated, which they definitely appear to be, chances are Dracoskull's lair will be nearby, if not the same
The
location.
same place, yeah.
And admittedly, it is kind of a city that was built into a caldera as far as the descriptions go. It is in an extremely horrible area of Kabara, as it's just to give an example, I mean, the jungles of Kabara in general are considered inhospitable, among the most inhospitable. You know, even the pirates of the Lazar principalities consider it cursed. Because, you know, quicksand, assassin vines, shambling mounds, fiendish shambling mounds,
So,
head hunting lizard folk, and the off and on acid geysers.
so Florida circa 1778 and today.
Yeah, pretty much. And admittedly, the where they're at, this city is the city that this is in is made out of large spires of jagged obsidian. Which feel free to go ahead and make. I'll let you make a Arcana roll if you'd like.
Sure. Ooh, there it is. 19.
You realize that description of the city, of this kind of abandoned city that the dragon resides in, lays
Yep.
claim to,
Mm-hmm.
sounds very similar to other cities in like the Demon Wastes. And being that there appear to be from time to time little demon incursions and whatnot running around the place,
Kind of makes some sense.
you can kind of easily put two to two together that it's I mean, well, in general, it's just a horrible, shitty place, but that it may have been a foothold at one part in the war between demons and, well, everybody else who fights demons, because that's a thing.
Yeah.
But you are able to get that much information. As far as more recent events, granted, the whole area of Kabara is pretty rough and tumble for those that are daring to brave the lizard folk and the lizard folk cannibal. Well, not cannibals; they just eat everybody else. I suppose they can eat each other, so never mind, cannibals. And all the other horribleness that I just read to you all have an impact. So not that foolhardy adventure seekers don't go there from time to time. And then, but that being said, though, there have been some reports that certain tribes of dragonborn and lizard folk have actually been starting to show up in some of the different towns that are colonized by the good people of Corvair, so to speak, like New Throne, like Adderport, and from the sounds of it, it sounds like they are being sort of pushed out of their normal sort of tribal territories.
Okay, so when you say they're showing up, they're not like raiding. They're showing up and like trying to occupy the same space at the same time.
I mean, some do raid just because they don't really know any better, or they're so desperate that they do. But some of the more even-minded people have been able to kind of broker some things. So some of these tribes have been sort of, if not accepted, at least tolerated.
Got it.
Um,
How recent are we talking? Like a couple of weeks, few months, few years?
Actually, probably within like the last year or so.
Okay.
And you do get there is actually, and there's a couple of different tribal names which I can make up later as far as those that were prominently displaced. But they do say that where these different tribes did get displaced from was definitely kind of a growing perimeter that, just judging from the different reports and where things were located as best they could tell, as best the cartographers and other adventurers could tell, was definitely expanding out from the city that I mentioned, the demon city. That
Right. Is there any like mention in the various news reports of the, I guess, persuasion of the Dragonborn that are getting kicked out? Like, are they anything other than black and blue, or is it just kind of
actually they are predominant. The ones that are getting kicked out are predominantly like red scaled,
okay,
and red scaled and probably a smattering of more metallic-y colored ones. White Dragonborn really don't exist in the jungles of Kabara. So but the other three colors, black, green, and blue, seem to not be affected, or in some cases seem to be the primary instigators of pushing out and claiming territory.
Would you allow Gavin, with his intelligence, to draw some of the same conclusions that Adam is drawing?
Sure.
Okay. The idea that, like, the people, the Dragonborn that are displacing the other Dragonborn are probably related to and connected to Dracus Skull and her mate. And it seems a bit like consolidating power and removing potential rivals.
Yeah. That's probably a good. Yeah.
Okay.
And for that matter, once Rhiannon gets her wand and I'm assuming uses that to touch base with her father a bit.
I have a sending stone.
Oh, right. Never mind. But with some of the communications with your father with the sending stone, you've also been able to kind of corroborate that.
Okay.
Since he's kind of man on the ground, so to speak, boots on the ground.
I would also I'm assuming that Gavin is passing along all of this information. I would also ask him if he has any familiarity with this obsidian city, the throne of the holy dragons.
He shakes his head, but he does
No. I would ask Karth.
Oh, your dad. Sorry.
My daddy. I will never say that again.
Thank you.
Rhiannon's father.
He has not been there himself, just because it is deep into the interior. He's had to try and find some expeditions that have tried going there and picked up survivors who have managed to escape from there. But in his past dealings, like, you remember early in his career when he was still kind of fresh and foolhardy, and he did go that deep into the interior to do kind of a rescue mission, and did happen to come across one or two individuals, but they were out of the actual demon city itself. They were not. He did not actually go into the city proper.
Gotcha.
Primarily because of the, well, not rumors, but the stories of the evil, well, of the big nasty black dragon that took over that whole space as their domain.
The legitimate threat of the giant, terrifying ancient black dragon.
Yeah,
It's fine.
Is there anything else I am able to glean in that particular vein? Is there any other information you wish to give me before we move on to the next thing, is what I'm asking.
Not so much with that. However, Lady Alana, since you guys are working on several different things together, and including the research on this,
Mm-hmm.
she does mention something. You actually see her, and she's been fairly. Granted, when you two are kind of alone together, she definitely allows more of her excitement for learning and knowledge to kind of creep out a bit more. But you notice she does tend to play it a little cold and aloof, especially around other people, because she's the noble woman. So that's what they kind of expect, sort of thing.
She has a reputation to maintain. I understand.
Right. But one particular day, as you kind of stop by her office before you kind of go diving into the racks of books.
Like, I genuinely think we grab lunch every day before we go do research.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. She tells you, you see she's like, oh my goodness, I have to, please, quick, come in, shut the door, you have to see this.
So Gavin will kind of, matching her excitement, will kind of hurriedly walk in and close the door behind him.
I think I've discovered some information about your ship.
Oh! What did you figure out?
Well, it took me a bit, but there. At first, I admit I was a bit. I was struggling. I was looking for anything I possibly could. I mean, obviously, it seems to be more plant-based, and I'm assuming to some extent like a living plant-like vessel.
It certainly has those qualities, doesn't it?
But so in diving into that, I stumbled across a while back, one of my mentors' journals. They had gone into the. They had several, I guess, journeys into some of the various planes. Now, granted, this was several decades ago, like while the war was still going on, admittedly. But what I thought was interesting was. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. I remembered there was something about the shape of the ship that I thought was kind of peculiar. I mean, above and beyond just the normal peculiarity of a living plant-based flying ship.
Certainly.
But then it got me to thinking about my mentor's journal, and in it they did put down an etching, if you will, of some ruins that they came across when they were dealing with the fairy court in Thalanis. And that's where it kind of dawned on me. So I went and I got the journal and was able to get the articles. And if you look here, she kind of unfolds this kind of large sort of piece of vellum, and is like, they did some etchings of some of the ruins. There were some different, for lack of a better term, some different reliefs and whatnot on it. And if you look here, and she kind of points, and sure enough, in the etching, you see you see kind of this almost kind of like a hieroglyphic sort of thing, but you see a couple of what would appear to be maybe like elven bodies or fey bodies, you know, very, very kind of beautiful, androgynous, so on and so forth, handing over, and they appear to be handing over what looks like 3 kind of ovoid, looks like sort of seeds, for lack of a better term, and handing them over to a kind of a worm, creepy sort of wormish looking sort of creature, which you, if I recall, did you go into yeah, so you've seen this before. I mean, it's definitely, the carving is definitely a little bit faded and very stylized, but you definitely recognize the quarry, what would be the quarry spirit. And it looks like they're sort of handing it over, and you see, it looks like some sort of exchange is going on. But the next sort of the sort of part of the mural or etching is, you see that the seed seems to kind of grow, and so it's got it sort of kind of growing from a seed to ultimately the shape of a ship that looks exceedingly familiar to Zion.
This is fascinating. Do you have any idea what this is? And he kind of taps the image of the quarry.
Well, let's see. I mean, she is the Dean of Planar Studies. Actually, I think that may be a... I'd have to check with some of my contacts in Darsan, but I think it might be a creature referred to as a quarry. They were like dream spirits that fought the giants in Zendrick. In fact, there are still some rumors that perhaps that's what caused the destruction of the giants.
So at this point, Brian, I'm going to roll a deception to keep his poker face, because he's struggling.
But admittedly, there's not a whole lot on the subject.
29.
Okay, yeah, you're stone cold killer. You're good. But what's more important? I mean, I have no idea. I mean, there's truthfully no one really should go to. No one should go to. I mean, admittedly, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Admittedly, the pathways to Dalcor are severed. You know, people can only kind of access the realm of dreams, funny enough, when they're sleeping and dreaming, unless they want to try to go at it from a different plane. But that's a relatively foolhardy task, as dream stuff is, well, very. It's dangerous, and that it's very. For lack of a better term, ephemeral. You know, it's only there as long as a person is dreaming, and then disappears when they wake up. So I mean, how can you know where to go? You know, like it's a very dangerous place. I would never suggest anyone to go there, and usually you have to be fairly powerful to do some planar travel anyway. But the point I guess I was trying to get to is that this vessel potentially may be one of these phase ships, or however you want to call it. I mean, you said you found it in Zendrick. I mean, obviously that's where the giants were when they were. Again, if the rumors are to be true, or the whatever histories there are, is that they were fighting against these dream spirits or whatnot. But the fact that the ship could potentially even be able to traverse planes.
This is, as far as I'm aware, unprecedented. This is amazing, and I mean, legitimately, as far as I'm concerned, the next step would be, I mean, let's get these sketches and etchings over to the ship and do some comparing. There we go.
No, that's well, and actually, I was admittedly hoping if you would be willing, if you'd be willing to allow me to take a closer look at the ship. Of course, with you and your people on board, I don't mean to pry into any of your personal matters.
No, I understand. Listen, I do have some research and things that I need to get done today, but let's do this. Right around, he kind of looks at the whatever clock is on the wall.
Sure.
Right around, let's say, dinner time, 5 hours afternoon, why don't you head over to the Lyrandar Tower and we'll figure something out.
Oh, absolutely. I'm sorry, this is just such a discovery, and it just...
I know you, and he says, I know you know your business, and I know you're excited. But if this is the discovery you think it is, it's probably going to be best that you keep it to yourself right now, because this is career making. And you don't want somebody stealing your work.
Oh, no, not by any means. And admittedly, there's so much more to try and information to try and find, but it just, the possibilities. I mean, yes, if you're an extremely powerful wizard, there's a chance you can travel to different dimensions, and of course there is the odd gateway or planar occurrence or whatnot that may allow you to slip through, but usually those convergences are temporary. There's very few that are that stay open for very long. In fact, short of, I think, what information I've read from Sarlona, not many places necessarily have rifts that will open up even temporarily to planes, at least that won't last very long. I'm sorry, it's just such an exciting...
No, it's I understand. He kind of stands up and he puts a kind of a comforting, a calming but comforting hand on her shoulder, and then maybe give her a little side hug, but just kind of, this is really exciting, and I totally understand, but keep it under wraps. No. I'll see you this evening.
Okay.
And he's going to take his leave and then immediately head back to the ship.
Okay.
And he's going to get right back on the ship, and he's going to, he's literally making a beeline for wherever Amaya is, but as he's going, he's definitely going to be calling the rest of the crew, the PCs.
What happened?
We have a problem.
Are we assuming we're all gathered at this point?
Yes, I wouldn't start this conversation until everybody was together.
Tell you what, even or odd?
Even. Oh, sorry, for her.
Even's good.
Even's good. You are out on a date or another date, depending on how it goes, with the dancer, with Anya.
I'll grab, once I hear that, I'll I'll
So
connect.
you may be away from the ship doing something, but
Oh no, I'll connect with Zaya and have her bump Narashti and tell her to get back to the ship ASAP.
I will politely explain I have business, but it was delightful to see her, and maybe we could try again later to meet up. And then I will.
she smiles like, I'd like that.
Me too.
Aww.
And she gives
go
you,
back to the,
and
like,
she gives you, and she gives you a big kiss, because
Nurashti blushes, stands there awkwardly, and then says bye, and then runs away.
Okay.
That tracks.
Yeah, that's our Narashti.
Yeah.
That seems pretty, yeah.
Meanwhile, while they're waiting for her to get back, Gavin is doing that stubborn thing where he's like, I'm only going to explain it once, so I'm not going to tell you what's happening right now, but we do have a problem. Don't worry, it's potentially handled, but we need to talk about it. And I
We
don't
have
want
a
to
problem,
miss
don't worry. We have a problem, don't worry.
Yes, we have a problem, but don't over... You know what? Just
We've
wait.
met!
Just wait until Narashti gets here, and I'll explain the whole fucking thing.
Nurashti will do her best to get there. As possible.
All right, and in a short enough period, Narashti is able to return to the ship.
Oh, thank God, finally.
So I'll take everybody kind of below deck and out of the earshot and eye shot of anybody who might be above.
Sure.
And I will actually ask Zaya to pop out. Like, I know she's listening, but it's just easier for me to converse with her when she's in her dryad form.
Sure.
What happened?
Okay, so you know that I've been doing a lot of research and working with Lady Ilana, and I say her last name, I can't remember what it was.
I think I said ear polter.
Ear Poulter.
Ear Pilter. Well, she's the Dean of Planar Studies at the school, and she was doing some research, and she fucking found the origins of Zaya. Like, other ships like Zaya. And he'll kind of explain what was detailed.
We can still see your foot. There we go. Yes.
I realized my foot was in the camera. Sorry, y'all.
It was kind of funny.
We got to be careful with that, though. We can get banned from Twitch for doing feet.
That's true for feet, actually. So
Are
yeah,
you
please,
Seriously?
please move your foot. Yeah.
Feet,
Oh.
feet and nipples of any kind.
I'm
Yep.
so sorry. I did not mean to.
No, I know, and I'm not upset about it. And honestly, if Twitch really wanted to get nasty about it, they could. But I think we're okay. But just fair warning: feet and nipples of any kind.
My feet.
Because
Yeah,
people have a
that's-
foot
I know
thing.
it's a thing, but like,
It's a whole ass thing that I'm not going to get into right now. Anyway, here's the thing. I do have a friendship, a relationship with this woman. I trust her to an extent. I think we need to have a conversation. And I think we need to make it very, very clear that the information she has is potentially dangerous, and not because of us necessarily.
Does
but
she know what Zaya is then?
No, I did not disclose that information, nor has she been able to extrapolate that information, at least based on what she told me from what it was. But like, it was fucking clear. Do you remember? Who else went into the quarry dream with me? I don't remember.
Not me.
Amaya did.
I think Amaya and Ember, I think, might have gone
Okay.
in.
So like
Yeah.
he'll turn to Amaya since you're the PC that's here.
Right.
And just be
Okay.
like, you remember the seed, right? The seed that we initially saw, like that was being handed over to a quarry spirit, like we fought in the fucking dream.
right.
Like, if she's able to pull enough threads together, she's gonna be able to figure it out.
We're liberating these tablet drawings things, right?
And burning them?
Believe me when I went through a whole bunch of scenarios in my head as to how we could acquire and remove them, but also this is a bridge that I don't want to burn.
I mean, it sounds like a bridge I'd like to remove out of the way.
She's a
And
noble.
that's-
If we remove her, it's going to be a problem.
Well, there's no
mean-
reason to remove her. She's not.
If she knows about Zaya? It makes her extremely dangerous. And a huge danger to Zaya. Potentially.
Go off killing everyone who knows anything.
She's the only one who knows anything.
Well,
if we
and-
get
but
rid of
that-
her...
Hold on, but that's just it. She's the only one that we know of that knows anything. She mentioned that she got this information from her mentor's mentor some 30 years ago. So these files have been in existence in Moorgrave for 30 years. Now, I don't know if anybody cared to look them up or read them or research them or anything like that, but we absolutely have no idea who knows what. Going around and murdering everybody that knows something about Zaya is not a feasible option. I do have an alternative. I'm not just naysaying things without a plan.
I mean, we could just arrange an accident. I'm not saying we have to murder her.
Weirdly not comfortable with that.
That's odd for you.
I know, but I like her. Not like her, but she's a genuinely good person.
I mean, it's also okay if you like her.
Well, I know that, but I'm just... You know what? This is not a relationship discussion.
Gotta make it weird. It's fine.
Do you think we need to sever her relationship with these drawings and give them to Zaya?
I don't think we need to do that necessarily if we invite her on board and keep her with as a research opportunity. We need to impress upon her... But here's the thing. Regardless of what our plans are, her knowing this information makes her a target. The attack on the Kalashtar compound is fucking evidence of that.
That was related to something different. Well, sort
She
of.
doesn't need to know that.
Well, let me ask this, Gavin. Would you be comfortable kidnapping?
Yep, I sure would.
What if we give her the option?
I was
go
planning on
straight-
doing the option, and if she said no, then kidnapping her.
Pretty much, yes.
Like, that was legit my plan.
Offer to let her come willingly, but if she knows about it, then she's coming with one way or another.
I want
mean,
drawings. That's
you-
the one thing too.
You realize that if we bring her with us, whatever threads she hasn't put together yet, she will figure out while she's with
She was going
us.
to do that inevitably anyway. If you leave her to her own devices, who knows what information she could let out into the world. If she's here, we can at least control the narrative.
I think this is a remarkably horrible idea.
I think we don't have...
genuinely think we should just get rid of her.
It's not like we're spoiled for choice, and I'm not going to outright murder her.
I also don't. I mean, do you feel comfortable murdering everyone who knows of Zaya?
No, of course not.
Zaya's like, I don't.
I'm like, that was my next thing. I'm like,
I'm also not saying we murder everybody who knows about Zaya. I'm pointing out that a professor who is well connected, who has all of this information, who is obviously very intelligent, has information that could put Zaya at risk, and also has the ability to disseminate that information.
She does, but she also has the potential to be an incredible ally in helping us protect the identity of Zaya.
hi, what do you think?
Sorry, who did you ask?
Zaya.
You see she is looking like that last part that she said is kind of almost kind of came out as a bit of an outburst. But you see she's just looking very kind of distraught and a bit overwhelmed, and then when you kind of call her out, she's like, I'll need time to think about it. And you see she just kind of dissolves into the back end of the deck. Or her dryad body does.
I'll give Maya a look, just like, is she okay, sir? Mind blank, like, do you want to check in with her?
I will talk about it, but truthfully, I agree with Gavin. I don't know if we have too many more options that aren't either too dangerous or too morally unpalatable.
Again, this person is a reasonable human. again, trust her to a certain degree. If we get her on board, we sit her down, we explain as much of the situation as we're willing to explain, and he kind of gestures to Amaya, and I will let you control that particular narrative. You say what you're comfortable saying. But we need to lay out for her the danger that she's putting herself in, the danger that she's putting us in, and the danger that she's putting this incredibly unique and amazing entity in. And I genuinely think she will be a reasonable person about it.
Well, if she is truly the scholarly type, I can only imagine that being handed the academic chance of a lifetime would only be all too enticing.
That's the hope. And it's not like we don't pick up strays.
I mean, is she going to be anything that she writes or discovered won't be able to be published for, I mean,
Potentially ever, but
Brian, do I get the impression that she's the kind of scholar that doesn't necessarily want to get famous, but would rather just have knowledge for knowledge's sake?
Yeah. I mean, you definitely get the sense, like, I mean, you've seen the literature she has put out on different planar treatises and stuff. I mean, so it's not like she isn't published, but
Right, but she doesn't necessarily do it for the clout. She does it because she likes to learn.
right.
well,
She is much more passionate about learning in and of itself than trying to use that knowledge to build up her esteem.
Gavin will kind of lay that out.
I suppose if she does come, if she does learn, if she can be willing to hold her research and not have it something, knowing more about how Zaya came to be and collecting this information may help others who come, if anyone else follows like Zaya in the future. Or,
Well, either way, she's going to be here in about 3 hours.
oh, you could have led with that, Gavin.
And you know what? Ember will give you a little slap upside the back of the head, Gavin, because
Somebody adds
I
his
feel
Gavin
that is
slap
something
count.
Ember would do.
Yeah.
I understand that for whatever reason we've decided that killing someone is unpalatable despite how many people we've murdered.
I don't know that we've killed anybody that didn't deserve it.
I will point out, Gavin, that the last time you were concerned about a threat with someone who is an aristocrat, you had no problem going after him with the intent of murdering him. And somehow this just happens to be different because you like her?
No, this happens to be different because this one actually took the time to get to know me and become my friend. He was an ass.
So it's about your feelings about the person and not the danger to Zaya then.
Isn't that fundamentally what morality is?
No.
Then enlighten me.
I think this is a bad idea, but if this is what the majority of the group wants, then I will go along with it.
You should let her know that you think it's a bad idea. Might be helpful for her to know that we're not all quite carrot and stick, you know?
Mm-hmm. I will not hesitate to take her out if she presents a threat to Zaya.
And if she presents a threat to Zaya, I would expect nothing less of you.
She already presents a threat to Zaya.
But she also presents help and hope for future.
I guess we'll find out.
Okay, so we're all agreed that murdering her is Plan Z.
Sounds like it's Plan C.
Probably Plan C.
Because
B.
A is friend.
Well, A is friend, B is
ally,
kidnapping, and C
B
is
is
murder.
kidnapping, C is murder. Yeah.
Gonna
Yeah,
point
sounds
out
about right.
kidnapping often leads to murder. I tend to see that a lot in my line of
You know what?
work.
I'm gonna go ahead and just burn that bridge when I get to it.
Look for her with kindness. I'll show her my treasure box. It'll be great.
Oh my god, you could name your scimitar Kindness.
He's over here coming up with a lot of names. Anyways,
Gavin's like, I am not okay.
And Arashti, you actually hear your scimitar go, wow, this is intense.
Yes. Very intense. But we must keep serious. No silly jokes.
Sorry.
No, I'm reminding me, not you. You're good. Oh.
No, that was the scimitar saying sorry.
No, I meant Narashti going. No, not you. Me.
She was responding to the scimitar.
At any rate, kind of glances over to Maya. Do you want to be the one to lay it out for her?
I would say you're the one with a relationship with her currently. I would have you start to fill things in, and I will jump in as needed.
And I'll threaten her.
That's fair. I'm going to try to keep it as vague as possible and impress upon her the danger that isn't us.
Very well.
I'll let Rhiannon impress upon the danger that is us.
And the drawings, can we make sure she has them? Because there's other people who could put this together.
I did tell her to bring them along so we could do some comparison. As soon as she gets on board, we should take off.
Isn't that kidnapping?
Are you asking her first? Or are we just going?
I'll ask her if she wants to go for a ride while we're doing the thing. I mean, propose a different plan. I'm not sitting here dictating what needs to happen here.
I am clearly the odd person out on this, so I will go along with it. I just disagree. Also, I'll point out that if we end up leaving today, the 30 days isn't up yet.
I wasn't planning on leaving today. If we do have to murder her, that might be a good idea, but...
So, if this turns into a Zaya needs to get out today, I'm not leaving yet.
Well, that's fair.
And that needs to be said.
No, I understand. Also, I realize this is a really intense conversation, but I just want to let you know that I love you and you have a nice butt.
She gives him a kiss and a little light smack on the cheek. I'm just worried.
Rhiannon, we all are. And that's
Are
why... No, we are. I am very worried, and it's part of the reason why I'm not saying no murder, period, end of story on my end. Not that I have the authority or ability to put my foot down in that way with you, but I can make my moral objections very loudly and more aggressively known. But when it comes to Zaya, I will do what it takes, but I don't think it needs to come to that. And if it does, I will do it.
I understand. Rhiannon walks away.
God damn it. A very critical role moment right there.
And I walk away.
And admittedly, Ember will kind of take a few moments and walk after her and just be like, hey, for what it's worth, I'm with you.
Good to know.
She fucks with us, we'll burn her to the ground.
Damn right we will.
That's on brand.
Very Ember.
Nice channeling. That was good.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm hoping Jesse goes back and watches the VOD and approves of what just
Yeah, right.
Okay. Gavin is going to take some time kind of comporting himself as he awaits the arrival of Lady Alana. I'm going to do my best to kind of framework things the way that he would, but he is far more charismatic than I am, and I recognize that I'm charismatic as hell, so that's saying something. But
yeah, you are, you sexy bitch.
Yeah, but it may come down if I completely fuck up. I may have to just give you the gist and let it go to a roll.
I getcha.
Wait a second. Did we agree on what we're sharing with her? At what pace?
Gavin will kind of lay it out for, I guess, Amaya's approval, and the rest of the group too, but since Amaya seems to be the boss of all things Zaya, he will basically say that he's not really going to confirm or deny anything in particular as far as, like, Zaya's actual consciousness. He's not going to even bring that shit up, but he is going to, obviously, he does want to try to lay out the correlations that he did observe, kind of confirming a little bit of what she's learned. Explain that regardless of whether or not Zaya is something important to the rest of the world, she is very important to the Inspired, and that is a problem. And he will use, like, the attack on the Kalashtar compound, which I imagine was probably in the news, because that was a big fucking deal.
I mean, it was in the news as far as that some rogue Titans, or some stolen Warforged Titans, along with some terrorists attacked.
Right. So he will go get a copy of that Sharn Inquisitive.
There's no, like, news connection that the Inspired...
No. And there wouldn't be either. But no, so he's going to go get that, like, the copy of that Sharn Inquisitive so he can make a reference point to it.
Sure, absolutely.
In preparation for all of this. But yeah, so, like, he's not going to confirm or deny any level of, like, consciousness or anything like that. Having nothing... He's not going to even mention the Kalashtar. He does mention that he's going to lean very heavily into the Fae aspect of things, because that's at least something of a red herring.
Sure.
Does Amaya have any particular issue, or anybody have any particular issue with how Gavin is planning on frameworking this?
I walked away. Are you coming to find me to tell me this, or?
Yeah, he'll kind of lay it out for everybody after you've calmed down a little, or, like, you've not calmed down, you've collected yourself.
I might start things off even a little bit more vague, like, hey, we have something that we think would be very, related to your research. We're going to have to take you to a place to, show you and tell you more about this. Are you willing to come with us? And maybe you would start there.
So lay the groundwork for kidnapping early. I got it. I like it.
Well, just making sure that nobody is around to notice the kidnapping if it needs to happen.
That's fair. All right, so Brian, because I am all up in my head about how to make this happen, can we just storyline it a little bit here and say that that's what's going to happen and we can leave it to rolls? Because my brain is not going to do it in that order.
Nope, that's fine. Actually, what I was thinking, since it's like a quarter to 3 right now, how about we take a brief break?
Okay.
Maybe like a 5-10 minute break, and then we'll kind of, and then yes, we can definitely kind of go into that.
I probably only need a 5. Does everybody else good with that, or you want to go 10?
It's fine for me.
Somewhere between 5 and 10.
We'll call it 10.
We'll call it 10. All right, so we'll be back at like 2. We'll call it 9. We'll be back at 2:55.
There you go.
So we will be back soon.
Bye.
muted.
All right, everybody, we are back.
I'm pretty sure he is.
Welcome back, everybody.
I think he has some sound.
All right.
Moved.
Good to go.
Adam, drink your water.
Thank you, chat, for reminding him to drink his water.
Holly posted it a while ago.
Oh, did she?
And
Okay.
yes, and I messaged you, and you still didn't see it.
Well, I have my phone on silent because when it buzzes, it's very loud and can be picked up on chat. Or on
Okay,
stream.
I'm just gonna start telling you
That's fine.
out loud then.
It's more important when I'm jamming than when I'm playing, but I will happily take whatever hydration people offer.
You're probably not hydrating enough.
Today, I guarantee I am.
Good.
Yesterday, not so much, but today, I guarantee I am.
Okay.
Fair enough. Well, welcome back, everybody. So let's see. So a few hours later, as everybody's kind of getting set up and the last-minute plans are sort of being made, you see a fairly large sky coach, and actually kind of an enclosed one, which makes it a little bit more odd in that, you know, usually they're a bit more like a boat, much like longboats. But you see it arrives and parks itself next to next to Zaya, basically on the same sort of pier, for lack of a better term, that Zaya is on. And you see the driver looks a bit frightened, but it is kind of trembling a little bit as they open the doors, because you see Lady Alana steps out, but with her you see this this being sort of step out. At first you think that it might be like a giant or an ogre, because you see this woman's head, a large sized head, like much larger than a normal human being sized person would be, but realize that it is swiftly followed by a furry sort of cat-like body with a pair of wings, feathered wings on its back, still easily the size of a horse.
It's fucking Flamewind.
And you realize that yes, it is most well. You're guessing it is most likely Flamewind. You've never met, as of this point, you've not met Flamewind yet.
Rhiannon just looks very pointedly at Gavin.
Gavin is very pointedly not looking at Rhiannon.
That's fair. And you see they're like the goblins kind of look back and forth, and you see Nikali and kind of looks back and forth.
Rhiannon will move up to like the gangplank at the whatever thing where you get from that.
Sure. Yep.
Gangplank.
That thing. Okay, I wasn't sure if that was the right word or not. And just stands in the middle of it with her arms crossed, just looking at the two of them.
Okay.
I will move past and go meet them down on the platform.
Okay.
And just, hello. You must be Flamewind. I've heard a fair amount about you.
And you see Flamewind just kind of nods, and it's like, yes, I was actually quite surprised. And you see Lady Alana as she kind of steps in, because you see Flamewind is fairly quiet, but just kind of observing things. And you notice Flamewind just kind of looks at you, Gavin, with sort of that look like she's looking sort of through you a little bit.
Yeah, it's definitely not unnerving in any way, shape, or form.
And seems to do that with the other crew members, just kind of taking everything in. Oddly enough, does not necessarily seem as interested in the ship itself, though. As opposed to Lady Alana, that is damn near gushing, and is like, yes, so at any rate, Flamewind had surprisingly showed up at my office and asked if she could attend as well. And I know you had mentioned you'd wanted to speak with her at some point, and
I did indeed. This was unexpected, but always a pleasure. Why don't you come on board? If you're okay with it, I was thinking maybe we could take a quick ride on Zaya if you're on the Berezaya, on the Argia. I don't fucking know what you call it.
And yeah, you see Lady Alana's like, okay, and is like super excited, and you see Flamewind just kind of nods and then heads up the plank.
As they're heading up the plank and their backs are turned to me, that's the point where I will make eye contact with Rhiannon and just kind of like pinch the bridge of my nose and then continue up the gangplank.
And
I'll real quick introduce the crew to our two guests.
Hirashti will mind link to Gavin and be like, there are two of them.
Yep,
There's
I'm
not
aware.
supposed to be two of them.
Yep, I was also aware of that. Flamewind is a diviner. I'm not real sure how this is gonna go. He doesn't say. He probably says oracle, not diviner.
And you see Lady Alana's like, may I ask, I have so many questions.
Lady Alana, there are many questions that I'm certain you have. We're gonna disembark, and we're gonna get out a little ways, and then we'll have a conversation, and we will address a lot of your questions.
Okay.
He will kind of escort her to like the best view in the house near the bow of the ship.
Sure. And so yeah, she's like taking it all in, and like she's kind of constantly going back and forth from like watching the ship and how it flies, and then like looking out at the view, but then like watching the ship and how it flies, and is like just trying to take in how it runs. Meanwhile, Flamewind just kind of looks over at you and just asks, "Is it okay if I stay here?" And just kind of gestures with her paw towards the deck.
Yeah, Gavin, just by all means.
And so she just.
Amaya's definitely still making the show of like the goblins are actually the crew that are needed to move the ship around.
Sure.
And she's like wandering around, giving them instructions and making sure that she's staying pretty close to their two new passengers.
Sure. Easy enough done. Yeah, I figured you guys were prepping between you and probably Ember, the two of you were prepping the goblins and letting them know the drill. And truthfully, you guys have got it trained into them now. They've been with you guys for long enough now to kind of know what the drill is.
I imagine that Amaya is giving some orders out loud, Ember is giving some orders out loud, And then Amaya is mind linking to the goblins that Ember has ordered, giving them like the new correct actual orders.
Move the thing! And that other thing!
Another thing. Rhiannon is staying on the deck with the Sphinx. Not like super close,
Sure.
but definitely very clearly keeping eyes on her.
Sure.
And is a little bit hostile because we do not like this change of plans. We didn't like the original plan. We like this less.
That's fair. And you see, for the most part, again, Flamewind seems relatively disinterested in the whole flying on the airship part. And actually, after a few moments of kind of sitting there, we'll actually kind of sort of, you know how cats will kind of sort of settle in as they lay down, kind of, you know, get scrunch in, kind of does that and then just kind of lays down, sort of crossing her front paws a little bit. And yeah, you guys take off and head out for a while.
Gavin is going to kind of distract at least Lady Alana a bit with just some of the novelty of the ship, but not drawing specific attention like to the ship. So just like, hey, if you look out over there, you can see where blah 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 blah. He's playing tour guide, but distracting tour guide.
That's fair. And for the most part, she's polite about it, but she's way more interested in the function of the ship than necessarily a geography lesson.
And once we're
At
done,
least, I mean, with your intuition being what it is, your insight, she is very much more interested in
If Maya notices that, she'll absolutely kind of start taking over that tour guide position and like being more distracting towards the, hey, look at them moving the rigging, and hey, look at them moving the steering wheel to make the ship turn, and kind of pointing out all the mundane stuff that is needed to move the ship.
And when you do that, she takes an immediate interest and is like, my goodness, and like wants to know more about how you steer and propulsion and all that kind of stuff. Like she's just kind of fascinated with the mechanics or lack thereof of the vessel.
Sure. So she's basically giving her a crash course on how to fly like a normal airship.
Sure.
once Amaya takes over, Gavin actually will kind of excuse himself and head over to Flamewind.
Okay.
I admit that I did want to meet you. I was not expecting it to be under these circumstances. I understand you have some grasp of divination magic. Was there a particular reason why you chose this moment to make yourself known to me?
While I do have some grasp of divination magic, but admit my curiosity is I'm as much a student of the Draconic prophecy as anyone else. I'm guessing you must be the truth seeker? And she looks over at Rhiannon.
Rhiannon stares back.
I mean, it's a bit on the nose for you, Mr. Pentagast, but I'm assuming you're the last son of morning.
Yes, you'd be correct.
Why are you here?
Primarily curiosity. Like I said, I am very much a student and scholar of the Draconic prophecy, and to be quite frank, you are all, well, many of your crew members are named in such prophecy.
We know.
I've been studying bits and pieces of that to try to better understand at least the circumstances around it. One of the reasons I wished to speak with you in the first place was your understanding of the Draconic prophecies and what our role in that might be. Is there any way you could enlighten us?
Well, admittedly, the Draconic prophecy has, as prophecy seems to be, tends to have vagaries to it to instill for a little, dare I call it, a little wiggle room, as it were. But it does mention that the children of Calamity are expected to ultimately bring forth an event that will change the face of Eberron in some way, shape, or form. Admittedly, the exact phrases I would have to research a little bit further, but I do recognize, admittedly, I was more recognizing the name, if you will, and the description of those children. And I apologize, I don't mean to insult you by calling you children. It is just, well, how the prophecy portrays you.
Gavin just kind of waves it off. Like, not a big deal.
And I'm guessing the fiery one is the chaos spot. Okay. My apologies. At any rate, there is a reference. There is a reference to a great unleashing of light and shadow. I would have to go back to my notes to research it further.
My limited understanding, based on what I have learned in the annals of the Moorgrave Library, have been that one Dracus Skull is a student of this prophecy as well, wished to prohibit our role in it from happening, and as is so often the case with prophecy, instead got the fucking ball rolling.
Admittedly, it seems to be the ironies of fate that those who usually try to avoid their destiny are more likely to become entwined in it. And this dragon, Dracoskull, has apparently fallen into that same trap. Many scholars of the prophecy in general seem to fall into.
So what's your stake in all of this? Did you simply come to satisfy some curiosity, or do you have other machinations?
No, I'm merely a student.
Insight check!
Feel free.
I'm not good at this, so Rhiannon, do something.
And I will go ahead and make my deception
Oh,
with triple advantage.
Rhiannon doesn't believe a damn word coming out of this thing's mouth. There's no insight check. She just doesn't trust the Sphinx.
That's fair.
14.
I mean, from what you can tell, Flamewind doesn't necessarily seem to have much of a hostile intent. Although she is playing really all of this sort of fairly cool and kind of playing the like the Morpheus card, like I'm cool because I know shit kind of thing. So it's a little bit hard to read. You don't necessarily sense any outright hostility or even kind of an implied hostility. But Flamewind also plays a mean game of poker. We'll just leave it at that.
I will kind of nod and say, I will leave you to your thoughts, and he'll step away. And he'll just kind of go up and lean against the railing, and while he's making contact with Zaya, he will say, Zaya, will you have a Maya mind link to me, please?
Sure. So Maya, as you're kind of giving Lady Alana the tour, you hear Zaya's like, Mom, Gavin was hoping he could talk to you real quick if you'd mind link with him.
Oh, thank you, dear. I'll check in with him in just a moment. And Maya will kind of finish up whatever mind linking the goblins that she's been doing, and then she'll check in with Gavin.
Sure.
Once your voice pops into his head, he's like, I don't know if we can have this conversation with the Sphinx here.
Well, the Sphinx seems pretty content to simply be here. Perhaps we could get your scholar friend to a different part of the ship to explain some workings, as it were, and have the conversation elsewhere.
Good try.
Worth a shot.
Would you see if Rhiannon is willing? I can distract Lady Alana and bring her down below to show off some stuff. Would you see if Rhiannon would be willing? Kind of glances over at Rhiannon, who's staring daggers at the Phoenix, or the Sphinx. Would you see if Rhiannon would be willing to keep an eye on Flamewind?
Mike kind of also looks over at Rhiannon glaring daggers at the Sphinx. I don't think that'll be a very hard sell, but I'll double check.
Thank you.
And then we'll mind link with Rhiannon. Gavin and I are going to try taking his scholar friends somewhere a little more secluded on the ship to have a conversation away from her companion. Would you, I'm assuming the answer is yes, but would you mind keeping an eye on the Sphinx for us?
I'm not taking my eyes off her.
Much appreciated. And then Amaya will kind of give a few last out loud verbal instructions to the goblin crew.
Sorry, Phoenix, your facial expressions right now are fucking priceless.
Narashi's been hanging around up there too, and like if she's also planning on keeping. She's not as maybe
Openly
overtly
hostile?
and as hostile as Rhiannon, but Narashi's also very much nervous shuffling and all that, and but yeah, so she's keeping an eye on that.
All right, so we will find Gavin will kind of interject and suggest that maybe we go below decks and see some of the inner workings of the ship to be, with Lady Alana and Amaya.
Sure.
And Amaya will kind of ask Zaya to keep an eye on the Sphinx a little bit, like if it starts doing anything, or if they start doing anything weird or forward, let me know right away.
Well, I'll also say once Narashti realizes that they're trying to separate, Narashti will try to engage in her with like, so what's it like being a Sphinx? Where are you from? Like just like okay, did you guys see on the news that a guy hijacked a bus full of kids and then like abandoned it because the kindergartners kept asking him questions? Like, I mean...
Wait, did that actually happen?
Yes, legit, it happened. A guy tried to hijack a bus full of kids, but then quickly abandoned it because the kids kept asking him too many questions and he found them quite annoying.
That's priceless.
I love that story, and that's amazing.
So, like, Narashi's just gonna, like... I mean, not quite like the Spitfire of questions, but She's not trying to not be annoying,
She's not actively avoiding annoying.
but is also very much going to engage and like be very persistent in her pursuit of conversation.
Okay.
Dig it.
Okay.
Oh, how much of a dick does
So-
Rhiannon want to be?
As far as for the rest of the people that are heading down, so Amaya, Lady Alana, I'm assuming Gavin,
Yes.
and who else did you want to have come down, if anybody?
I think just that. Like, Kaladin and Nikali are doing their thing. The goblins are doing their thing.
Okay.
So I think just Amaya and I will go down with Lady Alana.
Okay. So yeah, you head down to the galley area.
So we'll make a show of kind of showing her a couple of like the rooms and whatnot, and make a point of like, look how they seem to be homegrown and blah 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 blah. But then once we get to the galley, I will actually kind of change demeanor just slightly, like not unfriendly, but just kind of like change to more of a business like. Lady Alana, I have to admit that I haven't been entirely straight with you on a few different things.
Oh.
He kind of gestures to the table and where there's chairs and
Okay.
whatnot.
And she'll sit down, but she's got her hand, her hands kind of on top of each other on the table. It's like, okay.
And Amaya is going to, at this point, very through mind, like ask Zaya to basically like use wood shape to bar the doors of the room, like from the other side, just to give us a little bit more containment in case things go south.
Beautiful.
Easily done.
And again, Adam's brain. All right, I'm gonna try, but I reserve the right to say, can I make this a roll?
Yeah.
And he kind of looks over at Amaya, and the rest of the crew are a little bit more in the know about the origins of this vessel than I have let on. And the reason
Okay.
why we have kept it so close to the vest at this point is because of the danger it represents. How familiar are you of the war of the... I can't remember. Is it the War of the Dream Spirits? The Quarry? What is it?
Well, the Dreaming Dark is the kind of the name of the quarry organization, for lack of a better term. The Inspired are their primary human vessels.
So
but
he'll probably even
they're
simplify
kinda-
it a little bit more and say, how familiar are you with the conflict, the war between the Inspired and the Kalashtar?
I mean, I will admit, I've not been to Sarlona. I've not, so I'm not as familiar with all the aspects. But I know the Kalashtar are fighting some sort of like civil war or something, guerrilla war.
To really oversimplify things, and he says this somewhat apologetically over at Amaya, to really oversimplify things, there's a bunch of nightmare spirits that are possessing living vessels. And they are referred to as the Inspired. And the Kalashtar are fighting a war against these assholes.
Oh,
And again, vastly oversimplified.
I see.
And he asks, do you have the etchings with you?
Oh, yeah, yes, I do. And pulls out a couple of really kind of old, worn, leather-bound journals, as well as kind of pulls out a kind of like a lacquered wooden scroll tube and kind of pops it open and pulls out the etching and kind of lays it out.
So I'll make sure that Amaya gets a good look at it.
Oh yeah, Maya takes a good long look at all of them.
And I mean, it definitely, like, one could definitely easily interpret from the etchings that the quarry spirit made some deal to purchase the Fey ships or whatever you want to call it, the Fey seed ships or whatever, from the you're guessing the Fey or the elves, whatever, you know. Now the etchings don't necessarily show the quarry spirits possessing the ships, so to speak.
Which I'm happy about.
But it definitely shows that they had made some sort of deal however long ago in the past. Like these ruins were somehow connected. The ruins in Thalanis, where the etching was created from, definitely had some sort of history of that event, however many eons ago. Because the battle with the Zendrick and whatever, that happened like tens of thousands of years ago, if I recall.
Yeah. So while Amaya is kind of poring over that, I will pull out the Sharn Inquisitive that has the information about the Warforged attack, and he'll kind of put it in front of her.
And she takes a look at it and it's like, you think that was them? They were involved in this?
You are not the only person that has made the connection between, and he gestures towards the etching of the ship on the thing, and then he gestures to Zaya on the hole. They know nothing about where she came from. And he's like, bearing in mind that the intonality that he's using is like he's using she as then you refer to a vessel as a she, as a female.
Right.
They have
and that's pretty standard nautical.
Right. They have no knowledge of where she came from. Simply by the fact that she looks the way she does, they have decided she is their target. This knowledge puts you, puts us, and puts this very unique vessel in a very significant amount of danger. And just a handful of people know about it.
I see.
If more people knew about it, the greater danger all of us would be in. You would not be safe. Flamewind for simply being here would not be safe. We would definitely not be safe. I am asking you, over the last month we have forged a relationship of friendship. I am asking you, as your friend, as a colleague, a favor. And in exchange, I will offer something that I think you will enjoy. This knowledge cannot get out. It is vital to the survival of myself, my crew, this vessel, you, and anybody else that might know about it that isn't an inspired. This information never sees the light of day. In exchange, Amaya is prepared to allow you a berth on this ship to study and explore as you see fit, with the understanding that this is simply for your esoteric knowledge and may never ever be allowed to see the light of day.
And she kind of sits back for a moment to kind of like take in. So these inspired, they're they're hunting they're hunting the vessel.
As far as we can tell.
Now, I mean, granted, the information I found, I mean, granted, it's a bit esoteric. I just happen to remember the etching. I don't know necessarily how much information is out there, but I'm not necessarily the only one who studies planar events and things. And granted, we're not even the only university that does so. I can't necessarily guarantee, and I'm not saying that I'm not willing to work with you on this, but I'm just saying I'm not the only one with information out there necessarily.
The only reason why you are getting this offer from me now is because I like you. I consider you a friend. I can tell you that there are members of this crew that would have liked to deal with this a very different way. I'm not trying to scare you, but I want you to understand how seriously we take protecting this vessel and the people on it. We understand that you are not in complete control of this information. That isn't really the issue at hand.
Okay. Now, granted, several of the newspapers have already, there's already been several articles as far as supposition for whatever the ship is. I mean, you've obviously made some news, being that you're flying around in an airship that doesn't require an elemental ring, as far as we know.
There is a manuscript that should be coming out in the next week or so, right? I don't know. Making shit up now.
Oh, yes, your manuscript. Yes, that's. I admit I may have pulled a few favors to.
Of course you did.
Get an advance copy.
That manuscript is going to hit the stands, and by and large, people are going to read that and accept that that is the God's on it, or the sovereign host honest truth. And as far as I'm concerned, that's all they need to know. Things are more complicated than that.
I am going to and you see her brain is just kind of a buzz as she's like, all right, well, I'm going to have to plan out several things. I mean, I still have to finish my semester, and then I will have to perhaps figure out some way to maybe I have to pull some strings to try to get signed off for a.
Lady Alana, you and I have worked together long enough that I know you have the capability and the pull to go on sabbatical tomorrow if you needed to.
Yes, but I do also have responsibilities at the university. I'm very interested in taking you up on your offer to learn more about this amazing vessel that you have. Admittedly, I won't. I would like to continue to be in touch with you if that's okay, and once I can get my affairs in order and, quite frankly, get my semester finished up with my students and arrange the things that I need to, I would very much like to return.
Gavin kind of looks over to Maya. Are you linked to Gavin right now?
Probably.
You're better at reading people than I am. What do you think?
Well, I guess insight check?
Sure.
Let's see. 21.
Okay. Yeah, you. I mean, you're definitely not. She seems genuinely interested in the offer. You don't necessarily see, as far as you can tell, you don't necessarily see any signs of subterfuge that you can see. She seems pretty earnest in this regards, both about her kind of current responsibilities, but also her interest in learning more about the ship. She seems pretty. It all seems pretty. She seems pretty straightforward and kind of, as far as you can tell.
Do you relate that, Amaya?
I mean, she seems honest and truthfully very interested in coming with us. I don't think she quite understands that this isn't an open offer for when it's convenient, however. You may need to impress that upon her a little more strongly.
Brian, Gavin is going to kind of, not necessarily the charm, but he's gonna lay on all of this kind of social grace as he can to like indicate we're leaving in however many days we're leaving and we may not be back in town, and if you would allow, I would like to make a persuasion check because I personally don't know how to make it.
Please do. And I guess what the bullet points, what specifically are you trying to persuade? Just to have her join you guys immediately?
Not necessarily immediately, but for sure before we go.
Okay.
I would also indicate that because of the nature of the information she has laid out here with the etchings in the journal, whenever like that, like Gavin would be trying to insist that this information stays here. It would be protected, it would be cared for, etc., and so on. But because of how sensitive this information, how dangerous this information is, he's insisting that it like, and again, he's being persuasive as fuck.
Yeah. Yeah, go and make your persuasion.
Okay. All right, you D20, do something good. Plus 9. 28. God, I hope that works.
And you do make a very solid argument, and she's very she's not necessarily trying to backpedal, but kind of as the realities of the choice of joining you right away sort of thing, and keeping, like, it's not so much the issues necessarily keeping things quiet per se, but it's just more of, she you kind of keep hitting this wall a little bit in the fact that she's you get the sense that, I mean, part of her being in the position she's in is she doesn't make rash decisions necessarily. Like, she tends to ponder the pros and cons a bit. I mean, you have to be somewhat cautious when you're traversing the plains because the plains are crazy. And so you're kind of hitting a little bit of this roadblock a little bit, as far as that goes. But overall, I mean, she does understand the threat of this Inspired, especially since you have Amaya there to kind of expound on that a little bit, as far as how they, I'm sure, going in a little bit to how they operate a little bit,
Oh yeah.
and kind of helps with that a little bit. And you can see, and truthfully, when you guys go into a little bit more detail about the inspired, she does even ask if she can take some notes.
I mean, about
Sure.
the inspired, sure.
And begins writing down a bunch of things, and as far as what you tell about what they can or cannot do, and you see even in the margins a little bit as you're talking, and she's writing down like, make sure to memorize this spell every day, or like make sure to do this, and make sure to look into creating magic items to help against possession of this, and like she's already like jotting down like her to-do list of different things to help protect her from those sorts of things.
I'm sure Amaya will throw out like a horror story or two of just the horrible, terrible things that have been done by Inspired.
I mean, Gavin's just going to
Absolutely.
tell the story about how all the Kalashtar children were vulnerable when the fucking Warforged attack. Like, he doesn't have to dive that deep to get there.
Well,
Right.
Amaya's probably going into more of the horror stories where like the Inspired actually succeeded in their goal.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, as far as the rest of you that are on deck,
I'm going to step away for just a second.
yeah. So you're sitting there keeping an eye on Flamewind, and you see at one point, and again, Flamewind just kind of settles in and is just kind of looking around at things, and looks at, and does kind of look at each of the people. And actually, Rhiannon, go ahead and make an insight roll, since you're pretty investigative-y.
Indeed, I am. 29.
So you realize something, that when Flamewind is looking around at the crew members, Flamewind specifically is only looking at those that are the children of Calamity.
Mm-hmm.
Like, doesn't pay the goblins any attention, doesn't pay Kaladin any attention. But like for you and Narashti and Nakali, we'll kind of go back and forth between the three of you.
At one point when she looks at me again, just maintaining the very intense eye contact, I'll just say, generally speaking, people don't like being looked at like they're a specimen to study.
Then I want you to hold the device as far from your face as you can still comfortably read that.
She's not really someone you want to piss off. I'll say as an aside to Flamewind.
Is there something you need?
Then I want you to hold the device
As far as needs, no. I admit I have much curiosity, but I apologize. I do not mean to be off-putting. Although I admit I seem to be used to it a bit for those
blind guy story time.
bipeds that are not used to being in the presence of
So I have a favor to ask.
my company.
I'm not bothered by your form. If you have questions or curiosity, perhaps you would be better served by actually asking us instead of just staring at us. We're not relics in a museum to be studied. We are living, breathing people.
That is a good point. Again, my apologies. I guess at this point, now that I've been introduced to you, I mainly wish to make sure that Lady Alana doesn't for lack of a better term, derail your prophecy. To allow the prophecy to unfold organically, so to speak. I guess maybe there's a slight hesitation on my part in that I would not like to see her necessarily artificially endanger the outcome, if that makes sense.
I don't honestly know enough about the prophecy to know if it does or not. But prophecy has a way of doing what it wants regardless of what actually is attempted.
That is true. There is the draconic prophecy and prophecies in general tend to be very frustrating in that, much like this Dracoskull that was mentioned, or that in trying to avoid, sometimes in trying to avoid the fate that has supposedly been determined, it tends to bring its downfall that much more. But that's not to say that people can't necessarily avoid it. As odd as it sounds, the draconic prophecy is not perfect. And it doesn't always get everything right, at least not the way we see it or interpret it.
And you think Lady Alana somehow is capable of preventing us from doing whatever thing we're supposed to do?
I don't think she would necessarily intentionally. Truthfully, her heart seems to be focused merely on your vessel and the potential, I guess, of its, I guess you could say, power. I mean, from what little she has spoken to me about it, it sounds like there is the potential that your vessel, if tapped into the proper magics or energies, could traverse the planes in time, which is an exciting and terrifying prospect, I imagine. I ultimately am a witness to the prophecy and a student of it. I do not try to influence it. For I fear that in doing so I might pollute the very concept of it. Admittedly, that can become maddeningly frustrating. I know it took me a good 50 years to get over that particular point. Before I could fully become as immersed in it as possible. I realize you and your people do not trust me, and that is fine.
Nothing personal. I've learned to be far less trusting than I used to be.
Well, as your title implies, finding the truth is never easy and brings with it its own what is the term the humans use? Ignorance is bliss.
Sometimes.
And truth can at times be a burden.
So you see yourself, your role in all of this, more as witness than anything, yet you want to make sure that our I forgot her name. What is her name?
Lady Alana?
Lady Alana.
Lady Alana is not hurt by it. These seem conflicting to me.
Well, in my apologies. Some of the admittedly, it does seem a bit conflicting, and and part of it is because I don't believe Lady Alana is directly involved in the stanzas that concern the children of Calamity. I fear, though, should she be introduced to it, person of her power and abilities could have a detrimental effect. And that being said, at the end of the day, though, it is because of our choices that the outcomes are ultimately determined.
She could be she could be an asset in us accomplishing whatever it is we're supposed to do.
She can.
She could also be used by other players in this prophecy.
Also true.
Would you protect her from those same forces? As you seem to be protecting her from us?
Well, my apologies. I'm not necessarily protecting her from you.
You're trying to protect us from her.
Don't get me wrong. She means you no ill will. But I fear her passion for your vessel may cause mistakes to be made that could be detrimental to the children. At least the possibility is there.
I say this and I mean you no disrespect, considering that you are a student of this prophecy. I very strongly do not believe that my actions or the actions of my friends are determined by some prophecy. We will do what we will do, regardless of your interference or hers. And we'll do what we need to accomplish whatever it is we decide we need to do. I'm not some hero in a prophecy or whatever the hell the children of Calamity even are.
Admittedly, that is the biggest frustration with prophecy. But perhaps perhaps explaining it in a different way may give you a little bit of peace of mind. How does one, as an example, as some scholars and authors have said, what is the biggest, most single thing that defines life? As an example.
I suppose it would depend on who you ask.
One could argue that the greatest identifier of life is the lack thereof, or death.
Perhaps.
So the exact opposite helps define what its value is. The argument could also be said for having a choice or having destiny thrust upon you. Instead of them invalidating each other because of their duality, one really can't exist without the other, and therefore gives it meaning. Took me several decades to process that one. And admittedly, in my first 100 years, I tended to be very similar of a mindset that you are.
Are you named in this prophecy?
In the prophecies concerning the children of calamity? No. But Flamewind is listed occasionally in others. Sorry, Narashi, you were muted. I don't know if that was meant to be for us or...
No, small children were invading. I'm sorry.
Gotcha. No worries. I just wanted to double check to make sure.
No, that's okay. I'm the only parent home at the moment, so there were needs.
Gotcha. No worries.
There always are.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, Rhiannon doesn't really know what to say at this point. Like, it's just cool. Good for you. Like, this is like the atheist and like the diehard Christian, and I'm just like, it's a nice story.
Yeah.
Like, you're
Cool
not
story,
gonna
bro.
change. You're not gonna change my mind, and I'm not gonna change yours. And
Yeah, no.
intellectually, I understand. I get it, but
a great way to sort of look at it too. Yeah.
So yeah, Rhiannon will kind of quiet down and just exchange a look with Narashti, like, what the fuck?
And I'll admit, as me is actually me, I don't know how much of that I believe one way or the other, but it makes for some great philosophical debate, and that's all right.
I'm here for it.
And I missed a little bit because of the children, but it's basically whether you're predestined to do something.
Mm-hmm.
It was there was a book I read that sort of the idea of the whole prophecy, like prophecy versus choice sort of thing, and it was actually fairly kind of well argued as far as like you can't have prophecy, you can't determine my fate, I make my own choices. But it's like, well, because you can make those choices, that it sort of defines, because it's the opposite, it sort of defines what it is and gives it value. But it's like, because you are making the choice, and then it's like this whole circular argument. But anyway.
As debates on destiny often become.
Right?
Yes.
But hey, it's a fantasy game, so fucking prophecy can happen
Yes, it can.
into whatever I goddamn make it, because I'm the game master. Anyway.
When Sundarashi's like, I don't really know if it really matters when it comes down to it.
And there we have the agnostic.
Right.
But again, you do see yourself as witness to this prophecy, not a player.
Correct.
I'll insight check. I feel pretty good about that, but I'm just gonna back it up with one.
Yeah. Feel free.
20. Dirty 20.
Okay. Yeah, you definitely get the sense that Flamewind is telling the truth as far as she believes it to be. Like, you're not getting any hostile intent, not just from her facial features, but like, you're a ranger, you've been trained in animal handling type things and whatnot, and you're like, even the body language, and granted, I mean, she is a chimeric creature because, it's a cat body with wings and a human head, which is a little weird, but at the same point, like from the feline body language, she is at rest. Like, there's no agitation. There's no I'm getting ready to pounce or any of that kind of thing. Seems fairly calm and tranquil.
Rhiannon remains convinced that she has ulterior motives.
That's fair.
I have one more question.
Yes.
How old are you?
Oh,
I'm just curious. I don't know much about things.
and out of character, I don't remember, but I know she's fairly old compared to humans. Well, she's ancient by human standards, and she's probably old by elven standards. I'm gonna bullshit it and say like 1500 for now, but I'm not 100% certain. I'd have to look it up.
Somewhere
I think
between 1,000 and 1,500 was going to be my ball.
Yeah, I think it is actually listed in one of the books somewhere, and I can look that up later on.
And follow-up question: is this the first witness, or is this the first prophecy? This isn't, I'm guessing, the first prophecy that you've been a scholar of.
Well, I mean, the Draconic Prophecy covers a great many things. And has a very frustrating way of having events unfold that it predicts that people don't necessarily recognize until after it happens, as seems to be the case many a times with prophecy. Admittedly, many lesser people, it can cause them to go quite insane, and even the big draconic lords of Arganessen don't necessarily comprehend all its facets. By no means your opponent, Dracoskull, definitely didn't understand it. Otherwise, if they did, well, I imagine they either would have tried to do a better job of killing you outright or leaving you alone.
I wonder, since he's speaking to your friend, I know that this is something that interests Gavin, and I believe he wanted to speak with you. Do you have any notes or writings that perhaps he could borrow to study himself that will not break his brain?
As far as regarding the children?
Mm-hmm.
I can gather a few things, the snippets that I do know of. Truthfully, the children have only started to become brought up rather recently, as far as in certain in some of the draconic prophecies, at least that the ones that I know of. The biggest thing that it brings in mind that I can recall is it mentions a confrontation, a battle off to the east of, well, at least off to the east. Granted, I believe the original draconic prophecy stanzas regarding the children were located somewhere. If I recall, they were located somewhere on the border between Brayland and Droyan. But it mentions a conflict in the east, a battle of light and dark that the children through their actions will have to some extent initiated.
Same shit, different day.
Just saying, most of the trouble we've got into, we didn't start it.
Well, true heroes are rarely, if ever, decide their fate. They usually stumble across it. I guess the bigger question is, when adversity is thrust upon you, what do you do with it?
Keep swimming.
I was gonna say nuke it till it stops moving, but I'm not there.
Nuke it till it glows.
Shoot it in the dark.
Andrew would say set it on fire.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
Torch it.
Burn it to the
And
ground.
actually, yeah, Ember will say, yeah, fucking burn it to the ground.
Burn that fucker to the ground.
I fist bump Ember.
Right. So meanwhile, back downstairs with Amaya and Alana and Gavin.
Gavin just makes a pointed look over to Maya and thinks at her. We're either going to have to give her the space she needs to make the decision on her own, or we're going to have to just full-on kidnap her right now.
I would be willing to give it a few days while we're still in town to put what affairs in order she can and think about it, as long as, at very least, one of us stays with her at all times. I believe you to convince Rhiannon on that course of action. Elsewise, yes, we may very well need to
Does, out of curiosity, Brian, did she agree to leave the notes and shit here while she ponders?
Yeah, with your persuasion roll being as high as it was, I will say as a concession, she will leave the notes and documents there with you. Now, And that being said, she can't necessarily guarantee those are the only documents, but they're the only documents she knows of at this point in time. And granted, it's a pretty freaking obscure reference to Zaya. Again, not to say that there aren't other scholars that have researched it to some extent or another, but I mean, it's obviously, being how big a hubbubaloo it was when you guys started flying into Sharn with her, Zaya is not something anyone really has a whole lot of knowledge about in general. It's pretty historic in that sense. But yeah, Lady Alana is willing to hand it over.
Okay. So I will package them up nicely, hand them over to Amaya.
She's willing to hand them over on the agreement that you do not necessarily destroy them.
Gavin has absolutely no idea what the plan is with it, so he's going to lean into it and just agree.
Okay.
I think we can find a very secure place to store it.
It's not necessarily a lie if he doesn't know what's going to happen, so...
Well, we'll talk about that later, but in my opinion.
But Lady Alana understand, I will then work to get my affairs with the university in order.
I understand that you do not do anything half-cocked or without a great deal of consideration, and I respect that. However, we are going to be leaving inside of the number of days that we are going to be leaving, because Adam doesn't know.
About a week, roughly.
And once we're gone, this opportunity is gone. Because I have no idea if and when we're coming back to Sharn.
Very well.
And I might make sure that she knows that one of the kind of stipulations of this is that one of us is going to be with her for her protection at all times.
If it makes it a little more palatable, it could be myself or it could be Nikali, who is going to be at the university anyway.
I suppose for the short term this is acceptable, but I can put affairs in order so that I have people to bodyguard me.
Then until you manage to do that, one of us will stay with you.
Well, I would say even then, well, I have no doubt that you can obtain protection from normal threats. The Inspired are anything but a normal threat. Having one of us who is far more familiar with how they operate and how best to defend against them.
As Gavin rubs the scar that he obtained during the Warforged fight.
Yeah.
This is a threat that could be almost literally anywhere, anytime, anyone.
Well, it seems we have something looking like an agreement.
Very well.
Okay. Have Zai open the doors and head back up on deck.
Okay.
As that's kind of wrapping up, Amaya does the quick, hey, could you quickly unbar this door that we're going to use to leave this room?
Yep.
She doesn't know it was barred in the first place.
Actually, and like at first the door, it like when you do it, it does kind of bump into something, but then you like you hear kind of a grunt, And Amaya, what languages do you speak again?
I know Common Core and Riedra.
Okay.
Also Draconic.
Okay, so you hear a language that you don't necessarily understand, but you recognize it as kind of like as you recognize it as giant, because like
There's been a lot of teaching of Giant on the show.
there's been a lot of teaching of giant, and when you kind of shut the door and open it up again, you see the door opens fully, and then you see there's a chest kind of sitting in the hallway that wasn't there before.
Yay, Liddy!
And like, since you're the first one out, like, and you just see it's just sitting there, but you're guessing Liddy might have been like sitting against the door.
As
Nice work, Liddy.
Gavin walks out, he'll be behind Lady Alana, and he'll very nicely just kind of pat Liddy kindly on the lid.
Okay. And like, as she kind of clears up and goes up to the deck, you just get a little from, you know.
And at some point during this, as they're all returning, Amaya's going to take all those documents to probably her quarters.
Sure.
Zaya make one of those like perfectly sealed secret spaces behind a wall, and just would shape the documents all completely unaccessible.
Easily done. Easily done. With that, then I guess you guys do you return back to Sharn then, or?
That's up to Amaya.
I mean, we can return back to Sharn if Lady Alana wants to stick around a little bit more and discover more of the workings of the ship.
Fair.
I was perfectly happy to tell her how to run a normal airship.
Whilst they are distracted, Gavin will fill Narashti and Rhiannon and Ember in.
And we'll share more of our conversation.
Okay. So you guys mentally do the pingy.
Yep.
And ultimately get back to Sharn without any incident. And who will be escorting Lady Alana then and Flamewind back to, I guess, the university?
I think Amaya would like to be at least one of the first kind of guard ships to kind of check everything out, but wouldn't mind if Gavin or Polly or somebody else wanted to know as well. More,
Okay.
Does Gavin get the impression he has some splaining to do?
Who to the
Rhiannon?
rest?
I don't know. Does he?
I mean, she knows he's not great at picking up cues. Is she making it fucking obvious?
It's pretty clear she's pissed, but she's not hard to read in that respect. Something about having daggers glared at things that move.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she's
Gavin-
not.
Gavin's-
She's not happy.
Gavin's gonna go with.
She glares at him harder as he leaves.
Narash is gonna invite Rhiannon to go meditate with her.
And Amaya's just going to mind link Gavin. You know, the longer you wait to do this, the harder it's going to be, right?
Fine, Nikali, will you go? I'll got things to take care of.
Rhiannon goes to meditate with Narashti.
If Gavin tries to like come and like get Rhiannon, like Narashi's gonna be like, "We're meditating, back off!" Like,
You know, Gavin, it may not be wise, but he is smart.
Oh.
All right.
We meditate.
So the rest of the day and really the next couple of days kind of pass relatively uneventfully.
We'll take shifts, kind of keeping an eye on Lady Alana.
Yeah, and she does hire some, sets it up to hire some House Dennett bodyguards.
At some point when I am, oh, here we go. At some point when I am kind of coming off shift from keeping an eye on her and somebody else has taken over, I am actually going to stop at the Inquisitive shop in question.
Sure.
And I'm going to hire an Inquisitive
Okay.
to go covertly keep an eye on her.
Okay. How?
I will drop 1,000 gold on this.
Chivas.
Okay. They'll keep an eye on.
That's what I thought.
Amaya is probably going to try to kind of stay on shift when she's not sleeping or needed for something else. And she's also going to be like whoever gets hired as a bodyguard, she will be like giving them the finer points on how to detect and defend against inspired and their preferred tactics, things like that.
Narashki will also help with that since that's what she's
Okay.
been doing most of her life.
Now, Narashti, I will say too also for the next few days, Anya does seem to stop by on more or less kind of a daily basis. You get and you get the sense she's definitely a little sweet on you.
I'm a little sweet on her. We get ice cream and watch the sunset. It's adorable.
Arashti is just too pure for this world.
Right. I will throw out there that Gavin will not avoid the conversation with Rhiannon, but he will also kind of...
Oh no, after Rhiannon meditates, that conversation's fucking happening because you have some splaining to do, sir. It's fine. You probably get slapped in the course of that conversation.
We'll add it to the Ziodos. Although I feel it doesn't have quite the same weight if it's...
It's I don't think it counts unless it actually happens in like there's actual action. Also, I don't know what he's gonna say, so maybe there's not a slap.
How does Rhiannon approach it?
Oh, she's letting Gavin approach it. She's just...
If you want, we can just say that you guys have a stern discussion.
We have a stern discussion.
And if you want, at some other point, we can roleplay that, but Lord knows we've been doing a lot of interesting discussions and sometimes heated discussions so far today.
I will tell Gavin after we have cleared the air. I'll just make mention of the fact that I had asked Flamewind to bring some notes on the prophecy about the children of the Calamity.
For which he will thank you.
Because I thought he would be interested.
And he is.
This is still a bad idea.
I think I like that maybe, but I like this idea better than murder.
It's not like I like the idea of murder. It's just sometimes things need to be done.
I understand that. And I'm willing to go pretty damn far to protect Zaya and the people on this ship. But cold-blooded murder is where I'm going to draw a line, until she actually does something to warrant it.
At which point it will probably be too late.
You're not wrong.
I know.
So jumping from that real quick, Narashti.
Yes.
So again, the next several days you've been spending some time with Anya. And it's pretty awesome. We'll just leave it at that. As far as I mean, you can imagine, I guess, details, and I won't necessarily go into details, but you have plenty of nice dates and whatnot. As far as showing you some of the her showing you some of her favorite places to go in Charn. You definitely get the sense that this is kind of her. This is definitely kind of her hometown. Like she's the New Yorker, so to speak. And so like some of the places she takes you are way more out of the way places than some of the more main drag locations. But again, it's definitely been kind of a sort of a delightful romp through. And I don't know, do you make mention to her that you guys may be departing for a while, or?
I do, especially after things like it's a little bit more than just like like a fun, cute follow-up stuff. Yeah, like I'll share that we have to leave, and I'm not sure when. I'm not sure when I'll be back, but I hope to come back.
She's like, I hope you do too. But if it's going to be a while, then maybe we should make this an evening to remember. Wank, wank,
Marashi just blushes.
And so we'll assume that things get a little heated, get a little. She actually offers to even like rent or to get like a room at a nice like posh inn or whatever to have a little romantic evening.
Narashi will definitely take her up on that, but let everybody know, or at least let Zaya know
Sure.
like inform Amaya. Some people know where she is at, so nobody's.
Tell Amaya that Narashi's getting laid.
Yes.
And admittedly, Zaya won't necessarily say it as such, because if you could get the equivalent of a telepathic blush when you say that, that is what you get from Zaya.
Yeah, she wouldn't tell Zaya. She would be like, I'm spending the evening with a friend at this place. Please tell.
And admittedly, from Narashti, from Zaya, you get, okay, a friend, right? No, that's great. That's wonderful, and is like, teasing, but like, honestly, good-hearted. It's when she mentions that to Rhiannon, and Rhiannon follows up with that statement that you get that sort of telepathic blush of like, right, It's like, I mean, on a fundamental level, you kind of understand what's going on, but you don't necessarily always talk about it. But at any rate, at least, that mentality. And things are going great, and as Anya kind of suggests, going to, getting comfortable. And you guys are getting probably less clothing. At one point, she goes to kind of grab a bottle of wine to kind of kick things off. But you see, as she kind of turns around, she drops the wine bottle, and it kind of clatters. And then kind of reaches down into her pile of clothing and actually pulls out pulls something from her pile of clothes. And you hear her say something, and the tone of it is very interesting because up until this point it's very sultry, very sexy, because you're having happy sexy time.
I'm mainly worried right now, Brian.
But you see all of a sudden her tone and inflection just kind of drops. And she just kind of stands there with her back turned to you. Says, and you hear, "Give us the child, Narashti." And you see she turns around, and you see she is holding a dagger. Otherwise
damn.
naked, but you see she's not necessarily holding it up threatening. She's just got it kind of down at her side. Her arms are at her side.
What did you do to... Is it her voice?
It is her voice. It is most definitely her voice, but it is like without emotion.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's very kind of deadpan and atonal and kind of creepy.
Very much as much it like possessed by. Yeah. Okay. Leave her alone. Get out of her head. Not gonna do anything.
And you see it. Oh, you care for this vessel. And you see at first she kind of points the dagger out towards you, and then kind of brings her arm up to put the blade against her neck.
At this point, I will mind link to Zaya and say, I may need help.
You cannot resist. We are legion. Give us the child.
You know this is not going to work. I am not doing anything.
Then all those you care about
Damn it!
will die.
I'm gonna try to disarm her, and it's gonna go poorly.
And you see all of a sudden she kind of like a light switch. She kind of it's like, "Hey there," and like in mid sentence, like she just turned back on to sultry mode, but then sees your obvious concern and sort of terror look. Is like, "What's going on?" And then she just kind of drops the dagger, like, "What? What just happened?"
I am so sorry, but I care about you, and I don't want to get you hurt. And I'm so sorry, but I need to go, and we need to be... I'm so sorry. But I fear if we continue that, our entanglement together is only going to bring you harm. I'm so sorry. And like Narash, like very, very, like eyes full of tears flooding, will like honestly just grab her clothes, kiss Amaya, and run.
Okay. Anya, you just verify for clarity?
Anya, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Like, when did Amaya join in this? When did this become a
Anya,
threesome?
Amaya, they're very similar names. Also,
Yeah, no,
Amaya's name
that's
is
fair.
on
That's
the
fair.
screen right here. Yeah, Anya.
And before, yeah, okay. So then you get out of there.
Because, and just the assumption that if I'm not there, there's no point in her.
It's fair.
She'll make it back to the ship at some point when her mind is clear enough. Will be like, because I call off the need for help.
And
Basically, just make it to her bunk and sob uncontrollably.
Okay. You get back to the ship without any issue.
About what?
Sorry, you get back to the ship without any issue. And
That's good.
well, without any physical issues. Emotional, that's a whole other story.
Why? This was so.
So mean. Rhiannon will eventually go check on her. Like, wants to give Narashti space, but also like. Is
Well,
concerned.
and like, granted, most of you are pretty good at reading people in general with your character skill checks. You can obviously tell as she kind of comes back on the ship that Narashti's pretty distraught.
You're not gonna, like. Just says to go away. You come in and leave me alone.
I'm here if you want to talk.
Thank you.
Take all the space you need. And she'll just back out of the room and close the door.
My mom, Zaya, reaches out to you.
Oh,
Mom?
he stepped away. Hold on a second.
Oh.
I just realized that he's supposed to be next to me. Hold on.
Fair enough. I suppose he was maybe ringing the kids.
Possibly? I don't know. That was heavy, man.
Yeah. It was a little dickish, I think.
I mean, I loved it, but it didn't happen to my character, so.
But you know, they inspire the Dreaming Dark are a bunch of pricks, so you know.
True statement. True statement.
While we're waiting for Reich to get back, previously Rhiannon had gotten a message from Halath down in Stormreach.
Yeah, yes.
I would like to use my Wand of Sending.
Sure.
Hi, got your message. Is this a conversation that needs to be had in person? I don't know when we'll be there. It's Rhiannon, by the way.
You do get a response back. Oh! Thank you for responding. Right, short sentence. Investigation has hit a wall, as said in letter. If you have additional insight, please don't hesitate.
Okay. I don't send anything back. I just...
Do we have Mr. Adam back?
He just came through the door. But I did catch him up. I was yelling at him.
Sorry, there was a little bit of a coffee emergency.
Yes.
No worries, no worries.
Coffee was brought here, and then the drink exploded everywhere in our new car. So, Adam was helping clean it up. He's here now,
I'm back.
and I caught him up on the story.
So Amaya, you get a message from Zaya.
Okay. And I'm assuming the message is basically just explaining
Actually,
what
Zaya.
happened and,
No, this is kind of separate of that.
Oh, okay.
But Zaya's like, Mom, can we talk?
Of course, sweetheart. What's going on?
They died, Mom. The Kalashtar, like they died. Like I know we've had people have attacked the ship, but they died because of me. And then Rhiannon was talking about maybe with the mage lady. I don't want people to die for me. I don't want.
I know, sweetheart. I know. It's not easy. They did die. But I need you to understand something very important. Two things that are very important. The first thing is that was not your fault. In any way, shape, or form. That was not because of you. You are not at fault. Okay?
How can you say that?
Did you send them to attack the Kalashtar?
No, but if I wasn't...
Then it's not your fault. You didn't make their choices. They made their choices. No one is at fault but them. That's not your fault. Okay. I know that's hard to accept and believe right now, so this is not the last time I'm going to tell you that. Because no, it was not your fault. The second thing that I need you to know, and maybe this will help with the first thing, what we're doing and us keeping you safe from them is helping to make sure that other people don't die. What we're doing is ultimately going to keep more people safe and alive and happy and healthy. So don't even for a second think that if you'd just gone over to them and let them take you, that it would have somehow been better. It wouldn't. Anyway. We're going to save everybody that we can. We're not going to succeed every time. There are going to be some people that we fail. But even then, those people, those failures, that's not because of you. It's not your fault. It's not our fault. We do the best we can, even if we fall short, but we keep trying. I know it's hard, but we're all going to be doing our best together.
You see, after a few moments, you see her, she kind of forms her dryad body and just kind of walks up and gives you a big hug.
She gives her a huge hug back.
I love you, Mom.
I love you too, sweetheart. More than anything.
And after a while, her body will eventually kind of retreat back into the floor. And Rhiannon, as you're kind of sitting there doing whatever it happens to be that you're doing at the moment, you see Zaya kind of form up and just kind of come up and give you a hug.
Sweetie, you okay?
Yeah.
You want to talk?
No, I'm good for now. I just want to say I love you.
I love you too. You're very important to us. You know that, right? Okay.
And after a little bit, again, her body kind of recedes back into the framework, and sure enough, Gavin, shortly thereafter, you are
Oh, sweet girl.
the body. Zaya forms up and gives you a big hug.
Oh, that, okay. Hi. What was that for?
Just let you know I love you.
Love you too.
And she gives you another big hug, and then again, eventually her body kind of flows back into the deck, and basically pretty much makes the rounds, giving everyone a big hug, which is, for Nikali is heartily welcomed. For the goblins is extremely confusing. For Liddy is
Awkward.
but
Just
joyful.
from a logistical standpoint, just awkward.
For Kaladin is more of a, and then like done. And for Ember is probably like this big hug, and then as I is about to leave, Ember then like lifts her up to like bear hug her a little bit more and spin her around, just because I could totally see her
That's
doing
Ember. That was
Right.
100% the image I had in my head.
Right.
Yeah.
And finally, Narashi, you feel kind of the presence of Zaya kind of enter in, and she just kind of lays down beside you and kind of puts her arms around you and just hugs you.
She'll hug Zaya too and be there with her.
Okay.
Maya will probably ask Zaya a little while later if she would like to just kind of sleep next to her that night, set up like some goblin watches to keep tabs on everything, but like as it kind of shifts something comforting.
And she, for this particular night, she effectively says she's gonna do a rain check, and she stays with Narashi that night.
Aww,
Okay.
Oh.
I feel so loved.
So the next day, which would be the last day, the deadline, as it were,
Mm-hmm.
and you wait to hear of response.
From two fronts. I'm waiting to hear back from What's-Her-Nuts, too.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Rhiannon is very, very on edge.
And roughly about midday, you get a message from like a. You actually see a gargoyle kind of fly down and land, just not on the ship, but like land on the pier, and kind of with a satchel and kind of pulls out a package that's maybe like it looks like kind of a wooden box that maybe holds like a picture frame or something. So it's like maybe 2 or 3 inches wide, but it's more like maybe like a foot or so length by maybe a foot or so height, and then like a couple inches deep. And you see the gargoyle actually has like a sash with like the House Civis emblem on it.
Has this been checked for any explosive devices, traps?
Are you asking the gargoyle that?
Yeah.
I don't know about that, but the Madani Enclave and has like this told me to give you this before giving you this.
Thank you. I will open the letter, I'm assuming, first.
The letter is addressed to you. It's from what do we call him? Was it Xian?
Yeah.
Xian. It's like, this arrived for you this morning. I took the liberties of seeing if there were any magical or alchemical things.
Attaboy.
But did not appear to be. However, I did not open it. But it does not seem to be. It does not seem to be magic. Or it does not appear to be trapped or have any harmful things that we can detect. And we're pretty good at that whole detection thing.
We happen to be. I will kind of glance around. I know Gavin's waiting on an answer. Does that mean Gavin is on the ship?
We'll say Gavin is actually. We'll say Gavin and. Actually, we'll say Gavin and Macaulay are at the university.
Okay.
Doing their shift.
Is Amaya on deck?
Probably.
Okay. I'll just kind of get Amaya's attention. I don't know what's in here. Just, in case, like, it sucks me into a black hole or something, because this is probably bad news. Also,
Okay.
I don't want to get slapped for opening something on Zaya that maybe is bad.
Those are the risks you take, I tell you.
Would you like me to step off of Zaya?
Yeah, let's step off onto the dock for a moment. Then Amaya will kind of go with Rhiannon.
We step onto the dock.
And Ember is also there. Like,
excellent.
Kind of looking over your shoulder, like, and actually she's like, I got spells ready if things go south.
Thank you.
Amaya
And I will
readying to like catch her or do something if she opens up a black hole. She's not really sure what, but
I have a hunch of what this is, and if this is what I am afraid that this is, I am going to murder that bitch. I open the box. What's in the box?
What's in the box?
You open the box, and inside appears to be a wooden frame.
Mm-hmm.
And there seems to be several like a rope or string sort of attached as sort of like a almost like a net or mesh kind of coming off of the, like around the frame, and the strings seem to be attached to a piece of skin
With a dragon mark on it.
with the dragon mark on it.
Ew.
Ugh.
And I think that's where we're going to end it for the evening.
You were a mean man today, Brian.
I know.
What the fuck?
Woo!
I'm sorry, not sorry.
I'm not
But-
sorry, at least.
But even though I was mean, did you guys have a good time?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good.
And next week, Narashti will talk about everything that happened.
Well, and
I just can't handle.
now that you've got Drakaskull's response,
I am going to cut her head off.
the big question now will be is what do you guys decide to do next?
I don't know how, because I don't have a bladed weapon, but
But we will worry about that next time.
It's kind of more
Yeah.
terrifying if you've managed to do it without a bladed weapon.
No shit.
At some point, that becomes ripping.
I mean, technically,
The phrase from Duke Nukem, "I'm gonna rip off your head and shit down your neck," comes to mind. That's
Yeah.
it's a little crass even for Rhiannon.
well,
But-
Duke Nukem was a pretty crass game, admittedly.
Yeah.
What was more disturbing is after you beat that boss, and then they had a cutscene where he did just that.
Yeah, true statement.
Whoa.
Oh.
At any
Does it-
rate, thank you all for joining us this evening.
Yes, sorry. Thank you all very much.
Yes, thank you.
We should be back in 2 weeks.
Yep, that's going to be falling near or around Father's Day, so keep an eye on social media in case of any changes, but tentatively the plan is 2 weeks. And we will see you guys next time.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.